Good. All right, welcome to the, let's see, March 20th, work meeting of the Planning and Zoning Commission of Virgin Town. It is 5:15. We're getting started a few minutes late. Present is Commissioner Darlene Pope, Commissioner Larry McCray, Commissioner Brian Wallace, and Commissioner Val Wentz. And we are excusing Commissioner Kent Peterson temporarily. We expect him to join us later. Okay, let's start with some of the questions. So, and thank you for some stuff. Appreciate you. As far as our meetings, if it's a meeting where we're not doing any motions, I poured through the code, and as long as we record them and we somehow get minutes and we can work on that, we're good. So even if today, Crystal was so nice and she decided to come over and help us, and that was wonderful. If she hadn't, we still could have had the meeting, so we're gonna be okay with her work meetings one way or the other. So we know, because that's been an issue of concern, so. And we can talk more about anybody who wants to help, we will not turn them away. All right. Okay, here's our agenda. It's big, so we'll be.
Should we turn these on?
We can. I don't know that it.
Just for the people in the audience.
Yeah, this is kind of for people in the audience, so we don't really need them as long as we speak up.
Okay, somebody comes.
And well, this, that, yeah. Okay, let's start with, a couple things I want to tell you. Okay, so in case anyone was wondering, and this is a little bit of a moot point about last week's week's meeting. So just so you know, we did the right things and everything was legal and good. So just want to make sure everybody was aware of that. Yep. We got a thumbs up from the attorney, and that's good. I wanted to tell you that I went to town council. This is on the subject of communication. So I'm gonna go to the town council and report to them in all their meetings. So we'll try to make it so it's a better flow, and everyone's kind of talking about having all of us get together
I think that's.
a couple times, I don't know how often yet, but just so we can have.
I think Jean is talking about sometime in April.
I think that's right, yeah, soon, where we can,
You'll be here.
yeah, where we can have just a discussion, because it'll save so much time. We can all sit in the same room and just let each other know where we're coming from, so. That's good. We got thumbs up from town council last night. From the town council, and you should know, got a compliment. And we also, I've gotten probably 10 emails and such about, gosh, what a good crew you got, and everybody seems like we're so on the ball, and we're so excited about all that. So good for you guys, thank you.
Nice to hear.
Must be
Yeah.
talking with you guys.
No, I've had several people call you out and say how much
Oh, yeah.
you were excellent.
Everyone was named in the emails with compliments. There was no one left out, so Larry. Remember that.
So we're just trying to figure out what we're doing.
Well, it'll take a while. It will take a while. Okay. So, let's see. So what else? Oh, the general plan. So I was hoping to be able to tell you I'm just gonna show that. I sent this to, this was just today, because I finally figured out what his name was. I was calling him something else.
We
So
have
it's
two
Smedley.
people, or this guy.
Yeah, anyway, so just tells you, I told him, we want to schedule with you, call me, let's get together, so hopefully we can get kind of an idea of what we want to do.
Can we do smaller groups and not have to have a forum or a meeting?
You can't do more than two,
Subcommittee or committee?
Can't
just
do
have
more
two
than
people sit
two.
down?
No,
and I just don't know who I was trying to think about
You've
that.
got 5 calendars.
But then you'd have to catch us up, like if a couple people went and met with him, then, I just think we all need to be
Here's
there.
an idea.
Mm,
So, if we have a joint meeting,
yes,
maybe we can meet with them on the same day. That way we can block one day off.
well, we won't be having a joint meeting very often with town council, every now and then, but I was wondering, We met, I don't know I have no idea what your lives are like, I know what my life is like now, all I do is town work. But I don't know if, while the plan's being done, if we can do, I don't know how your Wednesdays are, I'm just saying, what, is anybody willing to have another meeting? Or do you wanna use our work meeting for it, what do you
That
think?
have to be an open and public.
If all of us are together, it has to be open in public, but where we don't have, we will be making decisions, and we may be able to get it. No, because we're all here, we'll have to, we can't make a committee meeting, but it's definitely not something we have to have a meeting for. We just post it 24 hours in advance, but we could meet with, I mean, he's willing. for
I
one-
think that would be a
I
wonderful
was thinking
idea,
the worst-
just to have a meeting, just to have Kevin.
So I was thinking the first, okay, I was thinking we switch so this would be so many meetings a month, so say no, if you feel no, because I'm just talking. If we had our regular work meeting on the first week of the month, on the Wednesday,
Wednesday, that would solve a lot of problems.
it would solve a few problems, it would give us more time to get things on the agenda, because as it is tonight, everything that's going on public hearing, I'm staying up all night till it gets.
Yeah,
because I gotta-
but if we do that, in the public hearing would not be the meeting of
I know
that
that.
month, it'll be the next month.
Well, don't worry about that part. I got you, but you're right. Anyway. This is what I'm saying. What if we use the first, week for either the general plan meeting or our work meeting, and the second week for 1, 2. So that would give us 3 meetings a month, but hopefully it would save us from having all-nighters when things got to crunches.
And for me, it's the meetings aren't so much an issue, it's everything we have to do, prep for the meetings that takes so much time, like this one, we had a lot of stuff to read.
So much, right, and if we're doing general plan work at the meeting, and then we leave with assignments, just specific assignments, and I'll talk about that too, because I think if we each have our little area that we're focused on, as we work through the general plan, so we just take away from the meeting, just our little slice, we can not be overwhelmed by this, and I apologize, I will never make you read this much again.
Thank you. I'm gonna have to.
I promise, I promise.
So if I remember correctly, we're talking about Wednesdays being our day.
So yeah, just,
And the first Wednesday would be this meeting.
I don't know for sure if we've decided, but we've used it for one of the meetings, whichever one.
And then the second week is our regular meeting.
Yes, we have 1,
And then
2,
the third week would
and
be
3,
the
and we
other.
have the 4th off, which is gonna suck, you guys, for you, but it's also, we're doing a general plan, which,
I like the general plan the third week and the work meeting the first week, and I know that will put us off for a month, but after that.
wait, the 3rd week is our,
No, the second week is our regular.
oh yeah, I hear what you're saying, sorry.
So if we have a work meeting the first week, whatever we talk about, can't go on the
Into the
agenda.
next month,
till-
which will give you plenty of time to read, plenty of time for.
I don't know,
similar
okay, but it kind of will depend on Kevin, too, because I mean, I would be fine doing it either week.
Well, but if we have to get stuff to Crystal, we have one day,
Yes,
just
but-
like our stuff is due tomorrow.
Okay, but I'd rather have one day, if we have to, a little bit, I'd rather have the one day and try to get ahead of it than have a month lag. Cause what we'll do, if we switch it to that, we'll have a whole month behind it, and I can afford it, we already lost 2 months.
It would only be 1 month.
Yeah, but we lost 2 months already, I feel like, and so I'm stressed.
I know, but it is what it is. It is what it, exactly. We're trying to play catch up
Yeah,
right now.
so, but
And we will get caught up.
I also like having our meeting after, would it be after town council? Yeah, I don't wanna have it, let's think about that, but let's.
It would be after town council, our work meeting still.
No, after
Because
that,
theirs
after
is the
that,
third
after
Tuesday.
work. Oh, I'm sorry, that's what I'm catching on. So, that might not work, and I'll tell you why, and I knew I was catching on something, sorry, sometimes my senses are before my brain. The mayor, this is what it is, the work meeting is set where the mayor wants it also, because they have said no, wait,
Yeah,
I don't know, I have to ask her, she told me something about it.
affect.
Well, she was pretty specific, so I will check with her before before I say yes, I'm catching on something, because I don't really care that much personally, but there's something here that I'm missing.
If we have to have our work meeting on the third week, I would highly recommend we put it Monday. 'Cause I don't think Monday, perhaps it's not enough time to get it to.
I just don't know how flexible everybody is.
But we can't,
I agree with you.
we're gonna make mistakes that are gonna have impacts, and I'd rather go slow and do it right.
And
So
I,
you're saying that the meeting before our hearing, we do it on Monday, give a couple of days.
Actually, would be after.
No, so like on a this would be a Wednesday, so like we met here. And now we're meeting here.
Right,
don't want to spend too much time on that, I gotta ask Kevin too, guys.
just to give more time.
That gives her 3 days to get it.
Yeah, that's better than one.
That was option one.
Yeah. So that would mean we'd have a first, if Kevin could do it, we'd have a general plan meeting on first Wednesday. And we'd have our regular meeting on the second Wednesday. And then the next Monday, we'd hit our work meeting that next Monday after our meeting.
That works for me.
Does that work for you? How about you, Larry?
Yeah.
How about you, Mrs. Larry?
I'm trying to look at the calendar.
I know she's looking around the calendar.
Okay, so you're saying, the first week's gonna be general plan.
That's right.
Okay.
That's our two choice. Yes, and he seems really easy to work with.
Yes, he seems lovely.
He's really great, yeah.
Second week is our regular meeting.
I'm sure.
Third week is, and so the third week is gonna be the Monday.
The Monday meeting, and we'll do it, yeah, well, that, I like that, I think.
And this is proposed.
So instead of the town work meetings on the third Wednesday, it would be on
Third Monday,
the third Monday.
just to give us a few more days, so we can have everything smooth.
And so I was involved with the general plan that we did in, I forget. And, you know, you can start talking to people now. Ask them their thoughts. I set up a booth at the July 4th festivities, so people could make notes, put it in the jar. So any opportunity like that.
Easter brunch this weekend.
The Easter
Oh, yeah.
brunch, I can on Sunday, that's my only, I can't. It's not on Sunday.
Brunch is-
Is it on Sunday or Saturday?
Saturday, oh, maybe it's Saturday. Because I was like, Sunday, I can go, Saturday, I can go.
I can't imagine it would be
23rd.
on Sunday.
So while we're talking about it, we'll just skip to this slide.
That's Saturday.
So here's kind of what I'm thinking, thinking about the things that are gonna be difficult to do, aside from just all of us working on, you know, the different aspects of the plan, and I think we're gonna need, if we want public involvement, I think we're gonna need somebody to do social media, I think we should have a Facebook page. And then surveys, right, somebody wants to do surveys, I don't know, this is, anyway.
Well, the
stuff that
survey
I-
is what he's gonna help us with, and
Yeah.
I'll tell you what people object to, they feel like, and I've never seen a survey where people didn't say this, they think the questions are biased.
Well, he'll help us with
Leading.
that.
Exactly.
Yeah, so he'll help us with that, and if we ask
There's
enough
art to
questions, if we ask
Yes,
enough
there is.
questions, they won't feel that way. Just ask enough questions,
Yeah.
tons. So I think somebody kind of needs to spearhead that. I think somebody needs to kind of be the point of the spear for any gatherings we do. And then I think somebody, Larry, no, I'm just kidding. But, or a couple of us need to be looking at other, kind of be willing to grab other plans to look at, other people's general plans. I don't think we all need to be out farming that,
That's
so
not my
a
out.
couple of us, I know.
She's looking for me.
Darlene, no, I don't know. So
I wanna
anyway,
see
those
her.
are some of the, like the little areas of focus I was thinking about. But I won't know, we don't really know, right? But I love what you're saying.
I think we should book some community roundtables tentatively, dates, because you can always cancel that. We can always cancel. But it's
Well,
hard
my
to-
brain can't do it this week, my brain has to get, so I have to do it next month,
And on that topic, if we have like our,
but I'm writing it down.
that first week on the Wednesday, or third week on the Monday. It'd be too much brain overload, if we do 2 things on Mondays.
I can't do any more right now, my, I'm exploding.
So let's say, when we get there, if we have a community roundtable, could we schedule it after either our work meeting or our general plan meeting, so We have
Oh,
to,
I think we should.
we have to block out fewer days.
Yes, I think that's right. I
Does that
think we
make sense?
should.
I think we should stagger time as well. I think we can have one in the evening, one in the morning. I think that's a great idea.
So, oh, yeah, and I think that stuff will all, those are, yes, yes and yes, yes,
Yes.
that's good. And what he says. Okay, all right, so that's good. That's a good overview. I wish we had more info from him, but I expect to have plenty, and as soon as I get it, I will. Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, so, oh, we really want to get into this. Larry, do you want to go first? You want me to,
On the transportation plan,
you want, or should we just do all this? Was everybody ready for this nonsense?
go ahead.
Okay, all right,
Which
Go
one
ahead.
are you gonna do?
we're gonna stay on that. We're gonna stay on our agenda.
I'm not particularly clear on why we're addressing, chapter 30.
Okay.
Because town council
Let's
is
do it.
planning on deleting it.
Okay. So here's something that's really tricky. They are planning on deleting it unless they get a better idea. I mean, that's why one of the things we need to talk to them about is, right now, and maybe you know more than I do, and that's the thing you might need to tell us, because, until I know what their entire plan is, which I don't, I'm not comfortable, I mean, we need to adjust it. So let me lay this out. And then, I mean, it's kind of gonna have to be one of those things where, let's see, how do I say this most clearly? The best thing, or let me say it this way, what I would really appreciate is if we could get, if you guys can kind of get an understanding of, after all this work, of the picture that this set of ordinances creates, okay? The concept, that's kind of the important thing, is the framework more than anything else. If we believe in the framework and we think it's a plan, then we can decide how to adjust it from there, how to make it work with what the town council's thinking or whatever. If the town council's thinking something totally different, it's why I've been meeting with them. They need to tell me. They need to tell me because, we can do whatever we want. If whatever works is what we want to end up with, we don't care what that is. We just want it to work. But I don't think, this is really complex, and not really complex, but it seems complex at first. If we can't get a grasp on it, there's no way we're gonna be able to convey it to them. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So that's my concern, and I am thinking, I've spent a couple nights rethinking how to approach this, because I've talked to enough people in town council, their eyes glaze over quick.
Mhm.
And that's why we just need to decide if we think the structure, first of all, if we understand this framework, and if we do, if it's useful. If we don't, we check it. I'm not attached to it as far as what I want is something that will work, and I don't care how it comes. But you just gotta start where you're at, right? So that's my
I
deal.
think with minor adjustments to changes you make in the various sections. Although I know these charts are loved by some, I don't think they should exist in code. They should exist outside of code, so they don't have that. And that what matters legally should be there. So every permitted use should be in that section. Because there's a discrepancy between how many listed here.
Oh, yes, I just.
And if we have all these four things totally listed in each subsection, that's the heart of 30.
Yeah.
And it would, if it's only in one section,
Oh, no, it has to be,
the most recent example is Cameron thought sexually oriented businesses were prohibited because in that chapter it said, but it said this chart superseded the chapter and they were allowed. And so I understand the value of a code, and thank you for that perspective, Larry, but I don't know that it needs to be codified. Like, it could exist, but not as part of the code, as a separate reference.
okay, so ultimately, I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. Because, and the reason I included so many in this ordinance of charts is simply for clarity. We can pull them out, I don't care. It's just because it's very hard to understand. You know, you go blind after reading, blah, 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 blah. You know, so primarily that's the thing. I don't necessarily object to that, but if you pull it out now, there's tentacles that even.
No, I wouldn't pull it out unless every
That's right.
Permitted use was there.
That's right.
Every conditional use was there. All four categories were in each.
That's right. And
Residential, rural,
That's
because you
right.
can't do that, otherwise. you're
that's
not-
right, that's right, and we're right now, this really is focused on just fixing the transient lodging problem. I've left that chart in so as not to gut, because to help it bolster the changes without gutting the ordinance yet. I think eventually it needs to go away.
Well, and if we add them to both the ordinance sections for each zone
Yes,
and here, as long, we know where they belong, so when this goes away, it's not really.
that's right, and absolutely. And so the changes that have to do with transient lodging did go in. Although there's a couple more I need to add.
There's a lot that needs to,
Oh, well, Darlene, if you want to add those, you will not, I will be cheering
I
and
like
praising them.
this. And I have notes. And I went and I read each ordinance, the old ones, the new ordinance, and I actually documented how many more need to be added.
Okay, well, that's awesome. So, but here's the thing, we want to be really careful right now as far as adjusting the chart, and please don't lose this enthusiasm.
I'm not gonna.
Because I want you to do that, I mean, please do that with all of our uses, but the thing we don't want to do is, this is already too much. So we only want to adjust just the transient lodging things with this right now. And I tried to leave everything else intact that didn't touch that. With a few things that drove us nuts, I'd probably added. And you
Well, I
probably,
only found
a few that were
couple
so.
mistakes. I have a couple questions on.
Yes,
Why
please.
some things are true, but when we get
Yes.
to that.
And please also know that the other thing that are not all right. So as we go through this, I want you guys to be looking at, oh, like, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard, let's take that out. And, that's what it's here for. I threw anything that seemed of any words got thrown in. So we can take out whatever we want, change it. I'm not attached to this other than the structure, because it does have the components, Okay, so especially note that on, okay, like with permitting, this has been where I'm stuck. This is why you haven't got this posted to you, because I don't want to confuse you terribly. I haven't dared send my permitting chapter, and it's right in the middle of the rest of the chapters, because it's all arbitrary. We don't know what they're gonna end up doing for fees, we don't end up. So when we wade through that, it needs to be, just keep that in mind. We're trying to get a structure and a system that will work, and we can add and subtract the details and then all that as we go. Okay. So, anything you guys want to say? Do you guys want to talk to me about what you've been reading first? What's the best way to
Go
approach this?
by handout. You got 4 of them, right?
Yeah, she did, and
Where's that? Here.
I will tell
You
you,
start with-
well, let me tell you what I was thinking with, what do you guys want to start with? First of all, let's start with the top of the definitions. Let's start with the hierarchy of information, shall we? Or the lower hierarchy. Let's start at the bottom of the pyramid,
So that's
which is definitions. Yeah, that's gonna be,
TL 24.
the TL 20, yeah, with the definition. So these are the lowest level building blocks, I think. Let me see if I can pull that up. I don't know if I can get out of here to pull it up for you now. How do I do it? Let's see. Don't look at you're gonna laugh when you see the title on my ordinance. It includes, please Lord help me somewhere. Okay, let's pull this up. You guys won't believe how many files I have on this.
Yes, I will.
All of them. Yes, you will. Let's see. I'm gonna pull it up. Which one to start with? Like 100 million files. Oh, I know. Let's see. How about I get it off your email, so I'll do the right one, the same one you're working with. How about that? Oh, shouldn't show you my email. It's supposed to be confidential. Sorry. Why does it only have you, Darlene?
But it's only gonna be.
Oh, because it's the name. Sorry, my apologies.
I don't know.
My special. Yeah, your special. So 24, right?
It is. TLC 2024-02/PZ.
Oh my heck, you guys, I'm sorry, I should have pulled this up.
An ordinance of the town. of
I really do have too many ordinances. It is a real-
It was the last one you sent, so
I've given up with that.
that is.
So this is online. Anyway, so let's start, go ahead and start. So the definitions is what we're looking at. While I fumble for my right draft,
I have a question about the second one, transient lodging.
okay? Yes, oh, this is an important one. Let's do that, yeah.
And don't get mad at me,
I will, no, I'm just kidding. Of course I will.
but I'm thinking of Labrie.
Okay,
The smallest cabin is 550.
right.
So they would have to have 550 square feet for each cabin in retail space. And I just don't think that's.
So we can't make them do a dang thing now. So Labrie doesn't matter.
But
That's
I
not
know,
my
I know
point.
where you're going.
Oh,
with
yeah,
that,
that's
that's
not my
my
point.
Oh, yeah, okay, so no, I
I
didn't.
think it's because by that standard, I added up all the square footage for Labrie and it's like,
But wait, but why are you, okay,
because it says,
That's how I read it
it
too.
says, 150 square feet, but later on you go to say that, they have to build from the list of retail or whatever, an equal or
Okay.
greater amount of space.
okay, so here's, okay,
So
so
there's
let's,
my point of confusion.
okay, so that's, let's clarify. So let me tell you what a transient lodging unit is and help me clarify this better in the definition. It's the equivalent of a room. And the reason that all other places have put the transient lodging unit in their ordinance rather than just saying a room is because people cheat and they put in areas for, you know, if they have to pay $100 per transient lodging unit, then they just make a really big room that has bathrooms or whatever attached to it, and they call that a transient lodging unit. So it's important to have the unit in there because that's actually how, I mean, it's really important to have it or else you end up with all kinds of issues. The unit works for rooms and
So-
houses, it works for hotels. Now, what we don't have to do, the percentage we can fix, which is truly arbitrary, is in that, because you're talking about how it doesn't make sense with the balanced development, right? Okay, so we don't have to require the same amount.
Yeah, 'cause that's, I'm just using Labrie for perspective,
Yeah.
it's something we can physically see.
Well, and we remember, we don't want any more. Part of the reason that number is ridiculous, and it is ridiculous, is because we're trying to deter just people coming and building more lodging. You guys heard last night how much is coming, right?
Yes.
And it's bad, and we can't afford it, and so part of this, I mean, if we were starting from scratch, I would never say this. You know, and I would differentiate, I would say, you know, we could differentiate it in all kinds of ways, but as a pre-general plan measure to try to stop legally any more overgrowth, you know, what isn't a reasonable thing to say, it's a reasonable requirement, because we want the requirements to say, we're so grateful to have lodging, but we have enough.
Well, and I just don't wanna include something that's gonna back.
But how would it backfire?
Well, not Labrie.
No, no,
I know
no.
that,
Yeah, we
but so
don't-
I figured out square footage on those bungalows, which is which would be a dispersed hotel under the new definitions. And under that model, that gas station and those stores would be twice as large.
Okay, but you know why that isn't true?
Why?
Because they cannot, because there's limits to how much space on a lot, on an acre, you can put, you have to have a certain amount of open space, and you have to have a 33%, only 33% of any parcel can be, that's correct. It's
But
gonna-
that
to be
language
over.
is troublesome,
33%.
because I read it the same way you did, Darby.
Well, so let's fix the language, what is
Yeah.
supposed, but make sure you know, whenever on any lot, there has to be a certain number of, a certain number of percentage of open space, there has to be, it's like 20-something%. There's a 30% of it has to be, can only be buildings, only 30%. So what that would mean, Darlene, is it doesn't work backwards, they don't get to put, you don't decide how many lodging units you're gonna have, and then you have to build. Actually, you have to figure out before you even start building, oh gosh. You know, if I have to have open space and only 33% buildings and all the setbacks that we're gonna that we're gonna require, gosh, I only have 23% of my land left to even put lodging units on, so that means I only get 3, or whatever, I'm making up numbers, but do you see what I'm saying? So the calculation goes backwards from that because it's for new development, right? We can't require them to do it retroactive.
Of course.
But all that, so it's an equation that has to go in first. So I do see what you're saying, but they can't just use their whole lot. They can only use the same amount of lot as they could have used before. And you can bet the developers are maximizing their space, right? No matter what, they're just gonna leave space undeveloped. So you don't lose anything by requiring, you don't develop more. They develop the same amount of the property. Doesn't change it. The amount of the property they can develop does not change. In fact, it probably lessens.
And it's just gonna be half retail, half.
Yeah, so they can't do more development. It just has to be cut in half.
So is there a way that we could back test Labrie and take Labrie and say, what could they have done under this new?
Sure, let's back test it.
I wonder if there's a way to put that on a piece of
Well, how
paper.
much,
And it's not picking on the breeze, it's just something.
No, we're
that
using
we-
it, then we're not picking, we're using
It
examples,
could
this way.
Let's test.
It could be.
Okay, so let's,
It could be awesome.
so how much, Darlene, how much square footage of lodging did you decide to have altogether?
I think it was like 16,000,
16,000, how many acres do they have?
a little under 6.
Under 6, so if they have 6 acres,
I also discovered a mistake in our code.
I'm sure you did. Highlight it, circle it, tell us after, I'm writing it down, code. You're gonna find 49 of them. Okay, so I don't wanna do this math because my brain doesn't do math. in front of
Yeah, I
me.
think we need to do the
I
math.
have to be, well, so how many units do they have now?
They are projected to have 24.
Okay, so 24, so,
On 2 acres.
I mean, the simple way to do the math is they'd only be able to have, 12 units.
And then commercial.
Because you can bet they've maximized the amount of commercial space, so yeah, so they have, if this ordinance had been in place when they started, and they had the same amount of development, this is assuming they've maximized their ability to fill that space, they would only be able to have 12 units now.
So-
Instead of 24.
So you said 30%?
33%.
33%?
That's like parking lots or.
Yeah, that's enough.
right away use.
I had to get conflicting.
Let's look, open,
Information on parking lots, because, we.
So on an acre, they could build 14,300 square feet.
Really not big building.
That's.
wait, did you, wait, did you do the 25% open
I just
space?
did 33% of an acre.
Well, now you got to take apart, you gotta add more to that, that's not right, hang on, you guys. You have to go 23, you have to take 23% out and 33% out, because that's open space. Then you gotta take out setbacks. You see, so 23%, if they have 16,000, is that what you said?
It would be 14,374 square feet.
Okay, how
On an
many,
acre.
how many did you start with?
43,560. That's an acre. That's a square
Yep.
feet an acre.
Okay, so you can have 14 units, that's true,
No.
but you gotta have,
And it should be 10.
okay, but do you guys understand? So you gotta have 33% has to be, only 33% can be the building, but then you have to add on to that, not separate. You have to take 23% more for open space. So even if they could have that big of a building, now you gotta shrink it by 23% just to make the open space. It's in the code.
No, I know, but,
So take 23%, so what was your
okay,
number?
so
Tell me what your number
the
is.
number's gonna stay the same.
No?
No.
Tell me the
building
number.
Coverage shall exceed 33%.
That's what I'm.
Right, but then you gotta add open space too. Right?
But isn't the open space in the
60.
other 67%?
That, it's 67%, that's part of the
Yeah.
67%.
Yeah, that'd be the part of 67% would be open
Okay, so we're doing
space.
potential, I got you, okay, I got you, okay, so that will count everything.
I like to increase setbacks. I need to think more, I just need to think more.
Okay, so how do we backtest this? But really, the simple backtest, isn't it, just that it's, you get 12 units instead of 24? If they maximize their, if they
But you
maximize
still
their.
have structures on the land that people want. I guess my
Because
point
in
is,
the-
in what
In the
you-
yeah, it doesn't change the amount of structures, our added, landscaping and setbacks will change that,
and here's my concern.
yes.
If we require this, are we going to have unsuccessful businesses?
I think we'll have more successful businesses, because what good is it? I mean, ultimately, the reason to require it is because we need other things
Is there anywhere where this model is currently being used?
everywhere. There is not anywhere that allows,
Can you?
Yes.
This model, I'd like to.
okay, so this exact model, first of all, let's talk about Springdale. They're requiring it at even, I don't know what their rate,
Requiring.
they're requiring. Okay, so we kind of are not doing definitions, which is what we need to do first, but let's finish this for now. It's okay, you're getting, this is an important concept. So a balanced development type requirement where you require something else. So you're right, it doesn't change the total amount of development they can have on any piece of property. What it changes is the nature. So instead of just having, no one would be able to build just a hotel, you understand that, or just lodging, they'd have to put something else on it. Now, if you don't want to have gas stations, like we can choose, the gas stations aren't on the list of essential services. So there wouldn't be gas stations that we would be requiring with this balanced development, would be one of those things, and we can make the list whatever we want. So the only thing we have to lose with this is lodging. What we have to gain is whatever we decide we want to gain.
And transient lodging is only allowed in a sort of commercial now, right?
Now, they changed the definition. Here's a problem. They changed the definition of short-term rental last night. The one they were gonna use would have temporarily stopped all the lodging because it was any structure. Then they changed it to part of the structure or something that doesn't cover everything. So we definitely have to get an ordinance through. We have to, if we can get one of these through that, the one we're working on that will eliminate lodging from everything except for the Highland Resort zone for now. I think that's the critical one we have to do no matter what phase we're in with the rest of this concept. I think we have to prohibit more development of transient lodging in everything
I
except
agree.
the Highland Resort.
So I thought it passed with Missy
It,
voting against, but because she thought that transient lodging should be a conditional use. in
okay,
commercial.
so, right, this is what we need to do.
But it didn't pass, so right now I thought it was no commercial, no transient lodging, commercial only.
Okay, but here's the problem. This is why we need to step back and start at definitions. What they did was short-term rentals. That does not touch. Now, they changed the definition. It does not touch. At least because they did whole dwelling units. They changed it to houses. They changed it to just being STR houses and lodging. It doesn't cover everything now. You gotta put section. Yeah, it only covers, it doesn't cover commercial lodging. It covers only residential lodging, used commercially. It's what we're gonna call type 4 lodging, hopefully. So that's what they did last night, and that's why I was raising my hand for, I'm like, "Wah!" But no, it's so.
From their work meetings, it seems like there's discussion in the town council on moving lodging from, except for houses of all zones except highways or.
Well, let's pause and just as this, does everyone think we should have, I mean, from what we know of the town, from the feedback we've gotten from everyone in the town, do we think we're at the place where we need to prohibit any more lodging except in the highway resort zone? For now, until the plan's done.
My thoughts are everything on the nine, everything in Virgin, the value of all pieces of land in Virgin have quadrupled in the last 5 years. Because the floodgates are open, now's your time to build your vacation rental, basically anywhere in the town of Virgin or improved. So we slowed it down, we're taking it out of residential and we're trying to take it out of commercial. At first I was thinking it should be a conditional use in commercial, but the value of all the land on the nine is just based on it being, vacation, so the values go way up, so a Jeep tour company can't afford to do land in town, a hiking company's not gonna be able to do land in town, a grocery store.
Retail, a mom and pop is
Just
not.
about,
Anyway.
yeah, just anything.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that is kind of leaning me towards removing it as a conditional use and just eliminating it, fix it from highway resort. So I think if we only have it there, then I don't know if we need to tack on the additional, use.
Balance sheet, why,
Right.
yeah, I hear you, okay,
Or if we're gonna do a balance use, make it something like, I'm looking at a piece of property, I'd like to build a Jeep tour facility, let's say. But my biggest problem right now is trying to find employees that can afford to live close enough to where we work. So what if I did an employee housing over the top of this maintenance facility, but, well, that is, we have a height restriction that eliminates that, so we can spread out and do too much coverage and.
oh, but no, because we don't have to split it 50-50. We can split it 70 for real development and 30 for your, or
Or
whatever.
have a super credit for employee housing or a
I was
super
gonna-
credit for.
So that is on the agenda, we do need to do that, and I don't know if we can pull it in this bill, but absolutely that needs to happen.
And I don't even know what the super credit would be, other than like, in my particular circumstance, I was talking to a builder and it was, well, if you have 10-foot garage door to get your trucks in, and you have a 22-foot height max, you won't have room to put employee housing above your garage, you have to be separate. So then, you know, the lot that I have to buy starts to get bigger, and so maybe you can go to 25 feet if you do employee housing.
That's right, so, yes, and workforce housing is like one of these third step, like in May.
I was gonna include that on the list.
Oh, that's. Okay, but, okay,
And that might be more valuable to most employees. I know that one of the reasons that Jim bought the place where our trucks are at now is because there's units there that he can rent to his employees at a reasonable rate.
well, we gotta be careful with that partner thing too.
He wants to turn that into a strip.
Well, I think like retail, right? Like for me,
Okay,
kind of stuff, like I would have an office and to go tours. I think is what he was looking at, not the strip mall, was it? But I think
But I mean, I think retail is part of it too.
I misheard strip mall twice in 1 week.
oh wow,
that's.
so, all right, so just, so we're all in agreement though, we need to, for now, while we're doing the general plan, we should put something here that restricts it. Right away, right now, that restricts it right away so that we can reorganize it, and the general plan,
Specifically what?
In the commercial.
yeah. All
I
on,
thought that's what we presented to him,
well, we haven't presented it yet.
and I got it passed.
So that was, what went through was actually, Paul's ordinance. Ours didn't get on the agenda. That was one of the things that happened.
We really had looked at it.
Well, that's because we didn't have work meetings, right? Right.
They just eliminated it in commercial zone.
No. Rural residential, and commercial.
But, okay, so we gotta back up. Now, here's the big thing we gotta get everybody to understand. What they did is not gonna cover dispersed motels. It's not gonna stop hotels, motels, and dispersed motels. It's gonna stop anybody from building more houses, but those are only allowed in the stroke zone anyway, so I didn't understand all that. The original definition would have put everything in a halt. Anyway, doesn't matter what the original was. So we need to send through a definition that will stop everything along with the prohibitions. Okay, now so let's go back, let's start with definitions. Let's get on the ordinance that has the definitions, shall we? Okay,
Page
what?
Page 3 of that.
Okay. Okay, so let's start right here. So section 2, item B, is that what you have to? Am I on the right version?
B1.
B1, correct. So transient lodging. So that changes, it, so no one's using STR anymore for this covers all lodging, okay? Transient lodging unit, that is, the default unit. If you don't have a room, if you don't have something else, If you have if you have something someone's trying not to define, then, you can use transient lodging unit. Rooms count as a transient lodging unit too. So, and that's a lot how the state does taxes. Okay, that it mirrors that, that's why it's a good measure.
What are, on number one,
Yes,
what are, dispersed motels?
you know, all those,
Agreed.
oh, I don't know what Labrie is, you keep saying, I don't know.
Spread.
Yeah, the tiny homes, those little compartments so let's go to those.
Like
Bungalows.
Bungalows.
Okay, right here, here's a dispersed motel, a transient lodging operation wherein some or all the lodging units are detached or semi-detached and are leased and rented with accommodation or shelter for a period of less than 30 days. The units may be trailers, tents, teepees, RVs, or any other standalone or semi-detached structures with centralized management, that means it's one operation. But with or without reservations and management on site. In other words, lots of these places don't even have an office.
I like that definition.
Oh, thank you.
And I think it was the mayor who mentioned one of her concerns about Paul's definition was it didn't.
Include that, and this is a big concern, because it will stop none of that, they can all, you know, okay, so. These are the definitions we need to make sure that we feel okay about. Dispersed motel, that covers, that gives a specific name for all those little.
Does that answer your question?
Did it? Okay, so now let's talk about the difference between a motel and a hotel, because we've had those crammed together before.
Well, are we gonna go through the three?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I went that, I went in order of this question, not in order.
On number one,
Yes,
on the second line.
Yes.
After rental. That should be a capital T for that
oh,
in the period.
Oh, great to you.
have mercy, yes. Will you write all those down? And then, I love it. There's so many mistakes. This is even an older version, so. There's more than there is in the new one. Which is just another version of me trying to go through it. Okay, what else on that? How we feel about that overall definition? Does that pretty much cover everything?
Should we mention? Tents? Yours.
Same thing.
Yeah, we can put it in there.
I mean, everything that's tents, teepees.
We have some, yeah, or operates similarly used, we have there, but if you.
Yeah.
Coaches.
Wagons.
Okay, put in, yeah.
Retired shuttle buses.
Vehicle, yeah, add whatever you want to that list if you want. I mean, it does say similarly used, so go as far as you need to feel specific enough.
Well, it's just that the mayor had mentioned it,
Yeah,
so
put it in.
I thought it was a good one.
Okay, good.
Number two,
Uh-huh,
so I rent a hotel at the Marriott. I'm
Mhm.
sure it's gonna be bigger than 150 square feet. So if they were building another hotel that had a 450 square foot suite, would they, which is not unheard of, would they have to, also have the 500 feet? See, I don't have as much problem with these
Mhm.
definitions as I do.
so you know what we need to add to this?
We could put a range,
You know what we need to do? So this is an or, so if you have a room
Mhm.
or a structure, any space, or, we need to put, or you can use this, 150 square feet, that, we need to make sure the wording says that that's if there's no other way to define the space.
So would it be clearer if you did any room? Or similar?
Well, I'm also thinking about people who have a casita that they rent out. It's way bigger than 100.
Yeah, so if you guys, it's an or, it doesn't have to be, okay, let's see.
What's an or?
Okay, let's do this, I have an idea. Let's change this word, let's change right here, I know how to fix this. Okay, where it says 150 square feet is a TLU, let's put partition, because we define partition, I define partition as 150 square feet later. That way we can use it in the right places. So let's just put partition there.
And take out.
Take out the measurement. And then watch, I'll show you. If you'll follow me, we'll go down to partition and you'll see if this will
Are
suffice.
you making notes on this?
Will you make notes? Because
So you're taking out.
take out the number.
You pass it.
And put,
Thank you. I didn't do it now for the word, because I needed it. Just put partition. Show me where,
or
tell me when to stop.
partition,
Number 8.
Thank you. Partition, so there we go, that's all of this, right there.
So any room or similar shelter or structure or partition is a TLU.
How's that? Does that feel better?
This is a random thought, Robin, but in the final of this, can we alphabetize?
Oh, please
these?
and please and please, yes, please and please and please. And
What is this meant to stop?
partition? Okay, so when I met with the Springdale mayor, and also when I talked to someone from Pismo Beach in California about short-term rentals, one of the biggest problems was they would put a room limit on, say you can only rent 3 rooms, right? So they would just make a really big room that was sort of partitioned off, and they would rent that out under the license. So they'd have 10, they'd have these big huge rooms that could fit, 10 more people than, or, so it's just meant to catch anything, and we can work on the wording for this, see, or is it otherwise not defined? That's the important part of this partition. If it can't be counted as something else, but they're using it as sleeping space and renting it out, it's not a room, it's not a trailer, it's not a tent.
Does it have to be a number specific area?
Okay, that's a good question, because there's another in the, if we go to the transient lodging chapter, oh, hang on, I'll pull up 63, you guys haven't seen this yet. So yes, let me show you, my glasses on.
That's in the same document.
Is it, does that
Under
have,
which section?
don't look at this, you guys are gonna see what my brain looks like right now. Too many boxes open. Hold on, I'm looking for the please Lord help. Oh, boy.
This is the only we don't have that one, you have to be done.
Yeah, you don't, here, I'm gonna show you right now. Okay, look, this is my please Lord help documents, you can laugh at it. See? All right, let's go to,
It's a lot.
yeah, it's a lot. I worked on this for a year though before.
My concern is that if I have a space that's 160 square feet, well, maybe that doesn't apply to me.
Okay, well, if they can rent that other 10 square feet past 150 out on its own, you could. So just remember, it's not meant to do anything except for except for the people that try to cram people in. Oh, it's like a hostel. That's a good example. So you know how hostels work? How do you count the beds in a hostel? How do you count the units in a hostel? You do it by bedroom, and I'll show you. All right, license minimum. Chapter 4. Deal for licensing, nope, right here. Okay, here we go.
You're looking for the definition
I'm
of
looking,
hostel?
no, I'm looking, yeah, no, I'm looking for the measurement of transient lodging in this chapter, because it explains it better.
My brain just keeps getting stuck on that, I'm sorry.
Okay, here it is, here we go. You see, how do I get to this? I don't know how to make this page what I want.
You want to show it by individual page and then what page you're on?
Um,
Down at the bottom bar,
I love you, thank you. I'm flustered.
is it there?
It should be, but I don't see it, so. Let's see, it'll be in the view part, right? One page like this.
And then you
Yeah, we're gonna be here all night, if you don't hurry, I saw that watch. All right. Transient lodging unit.
Okay, I got it. Every 150 square feet of sleeping space counts as one transient lodging unit.
Yeah.
So that's a better definition, maybe. But we use that for.
That finally clarified it for me.
Okay. So, and here's the equation for facilities where, so this is the other thing. We can use a bathroom toilet thing is not, we can decide whether we need that one to bolster it as well. So, will you, Darlene, would you make a note that we want on the definition of transient lodging unit, that needs to be clarified, and we'll clarify it this language.
Transit lodging unit.
Unit, yeah,
Or even in
What's
that
sleeping?
partition definition,
oh, yeah.
just say C transit lodging unit. See
Okay,
that definition.
okay. On F, well, they need to go to F, 60, whatever that is. Okay, all right, we're ready to go back? Now I'm gonna find it, good grief.
CF.
It's, that is 60, it's actually, yeah, 60, that's the wrong reference number, this is changed. 6002 C dash,
C as in Al,
it's actually F2.
F as in
F2,
Farm,
and don't look at the wrong, F is in Frank,
and two.
and 2. yeah. But it's okay, I mean,
60.02 F2.
yeah. Okay, so now. I wish I could shut my screen right now, so you have to watch me go through my file.
Hit Control Command D.
Command D, what was that?
Oh. But
No, I just wanna go back to the one I was on before I hit the bottom of the file.
here's your connector.
I think we should, tent and teepee is in this type of transient lodging.
Oh, this is it, right? Okay, is this it, my bad? Yes, I'm sorry, yes.
Tent, teepee, yurt, mini cabin, et cetera, are all, listed on this chart of the transient lodging unit.
Uh-huh,
But I think we need to add stagecoaches,
okay.
On which one, transit lodging,
the chart.
the chart.
I don't know, I think it should be added in,
This chart?
it's this chart.
Oh, there, yeah. Okay, we can do that. So what definition are we, I gotta know that stagecoaches, because that's coming. Okay,
And it should be added, I think, in every paragraph where TLUs are listed.
When you say stagecoach, you mean like
Wagons.
Yeah.
Wagons or coaches.
Wagons,
we could say wagons, coaches. Yeah, that's good. Okay,
lodging wagons.
yeah. Oh, yeah, you know what? Radio flyers, we're not talking about radio flyers. Okay, what are we on now? Motel, okay.
Transit lodging
They're
operation.
back up here. Yep, that's just a general term, just so we know, it just means they operate transient lodging.
And hostel.
Okay, a hostel, we don't have any, but that doesn't mean we won't, especially if we end up with. So they recommended, and a couple of people recommended we put that in.
Hotel.
Okay, so oh, yeah. How do you guys feel about differentiating between hotels and motels? Because they weren't differentiated before.
I don't think luxury is a term that needs to be put in front of it. You can have a healthy hotel and a nice motel, not what your motel.
Right, the differentiation, you don't have to put that. The differentiation is supposed to be the amenities in a hotel, are already internal. And the rooms are not, and they have on-site management and full service restaurants, so they already have it's full service. It isn't a hotel unless it's full service. And the reason to do that is because there's places you might want a really nice hotel to come in, where you would not want motels to come in. And and so these are self-contained, so the descriptors, and there are some better charts of it, are to differentiate between motels that have only partial amenities or self-service amenities or otherwise. So, and I think that's important to differentiate, because when we do different zones in our general plan, there may be a place we want to
Well,
allow.
usually a motel, your car drives up, it's a motor hotel, it's not a.
Yeah, usually, but because of the amenities because of the balanced development issue, whatever we wanna call it, another good reason to do it based on level of amenity is because then the requirements for balanced development.
Yeah, I'm not sure I like the word luxury in there.
I only put that as illustrative, that's kind of why I put it, get rid of it,
Making the list.
get rid of it, just check it, it's not there on purpose.
So
It's just
I
there.
have a,
I mean, it's not there to be snotty.
No, I know.
if we have a nice hotel,
Yeah,
well, let's say the Fairfield Inn,
that's not a nice, that wouldn't count as a nice one, Just so you know, that wouldn't count as a hotel, that's a motel,
Counts as a motel,
because it doesn't have full service amenities, it's a
doesn't
different
have a
level.
restaurant.
It doesn't have a full service restaurant, it doesn't have a concierge,
So let's say there was one.
let's say there wasn't.
Could they get in balanced development some credit if they made that restaurant accessible to residents? If they made their pool accessible to residents during certain times of the day?
That's a great idea.
Right, if we could use the amenities, maybe not during their peak periods, typically at restaurants. Would that fulfill that requirement?
Interesting, that's a
And
really great.
that could be, that could be, in a development agreement,
Yeah.
Yeah,
that could be where that.
Cause I look at the pool on the Fairfield and I'm like, well, there's so many little kids here, midday, there's nobody. Well, they're out in the park. And from like maybe 11 to 1, if we could access it,
oh,
great.
well, that's a fun thing to think about, a community.
Cliff Rose in Springdale used to do
They
that.
used to do that.
On the North Shore in Hawaii, they had Turtle Bay, you've probably heard of it, so they started doing that and they got overrun. 'Cause
Yeah,
the
that's-
Hawaiian culture, it was a blast, we all, like, no guests could get in the pool, because it was, they used to say, yeah, it's full of brown people. It was great, that's what,
But I don't know,
the Hawaiians, get out of here, you're not brown.
well, I don't know if, what the problems with how we, but I'm sure they could be.
That's a good
integrated. If you have a small fee, $1 an hour or something.
Well, sure, and that would, yeah, that would depend
That, I
on,
mean, the
I like
couple
the
that use
idea.
a towel or something like
yeah, you
that.
had to buy your own, yeah.
So the question to ask ourselves would be, if we were the owner, operator, how would we feel about this idea?
Well, we don't know, yeah, I wouldn't do
They
it, but
probably
somebody
would
might.
be reticent, but I feel if they are, encroaching on our vistas and, our land, yeah, they have rights, but.
Could be a liability issue too.
Well, it could be too.
Well,
But
I
there's
don't
ways
think,
around that because hotels do it.
I don't think it's a bad thing to think about, I think we put it in our options.
There's still a place in Zion, well, in Springdale that does that.
Okay,
And I think if they had a full service restaurant, they would encourage.
they would want,
Yeah.
see, the restaurant would be begging, so, yeah, maybe they'd have, like, in the mornings, maybe they'd let residents go out. Okay, yeah, something like
Just
that, I
don't
don't,
you want to give back?
yeah, so let's keep that in our.
So give back.
But again, I think that would be handled in a development.
I agree. I
Yeah.
think that'd be
It
something.
would.
I'm gonna go to 30 feet, but I'll open my pool up at the end of one every day.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
yeah, so
Well,
that
that's
goes in,
okay.
when we talk about CUPs. Yeah,
Okay.
Don't we have some room 30 feet? I don't know.
yeah, well, let's not, oh boy, oh boy. Okay, so are we good with the hotel without the luxury?
Yes.
Okay, what about motel? That pretty much covers everything in between.
Is, limited food service, snack bar or vending and with and in-house,
That's a type of,
is that another?
that's a type of
Okay.
and house or like that.
Okay, just give it.
And, okay. Dispersed hotel then, let's move to that, and this is the important one. Do you need this bigger? Yeah, I can make it bigger up here.
I just want to get questioned about.
Oh, Val, you're lucky. All right, does that help? Is that better? You up here? Sorry, I should be more. I'm not good at this, you guys.
It does say, or any other standalone or semi-detached structures, so that would include our wagons or your.
Yeah.
Or mud walls.
It does, but you can put, but if, whatever makes you feel better. Okay. More?
No.
Okay,
But we Centralized management, that's on your TV.
Okay, here, so centralized, that means we wouldn't end up with a development where they have different,
So yeah, I'm thinking management houses, centralized management.
yeah. We could say one management or with a single management company or something like that.
Would ownership be a better word, than centralized ownership, of one owner?
Um. Oh. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, bad wording.
But I was like, man,
Don't have on-site people to contact and be there within 30 minutes.
Yeah, so that's in here.
Oh, cool.
It's in here,
Okay.
yep, it's in here for lodging and also this is.
SDRs have got that too, right?
Yeah, STRs, and what this requires, and this will have to sell this to the town, because it does require, we need to have it on
I
our
think that's
website.
where I read it.
The town should have a website that has all the contact numbers for all transient lodging, and it should be required. And you lose your permit if you don't have updated information, people can't get over it. And there's also, you guys haven't seen this yet, but the complaint system, I've outlined that too, so we'll get there.
Square foot.
If we say any 150 square foot sleeping area,
Which we've already talked about is leased or rented as a sleeping area.
yeah, we'll get rid of that.
Okay.
Right? Is it, I'm just trying to make it clear, whatever you think's better though.
Seems like a weird definition for partition, because partition to me means some sort of dividing wall.
Okay,
And not,
find another
not
name.
defining an area, that's for 100 square feet is an area. Partition.
Where did you come up with
The
that?
divider.
What was you thinking of that?
I pulled it out of somewhere, I don't know.
Okay.
So we.
But I'm fine, let's come up with another definition, but it's kind of a hard thing to do.
So what are you trying to define here?
We're trying to find a section of sleeping area with or without walls, which isn't a room. It's not a room, it's those sneaky ones. This is back to that same thing. It's the ones you have to measure by the 150 square feet because there's no other way to measure it.
I still quite don't understand that, but
I know it is obscure, but I was told
I keep
by,
wanting to think it is a room.
okay,
Like this
so.
room right here that you partition off and let people have a bunk or a
So,
cot.
yeah, that's exactly right. So it's a room like this, but then you don't wanna rent this to one family, you wanna rent it to 6. So you're gonna make little partitions, put in sections of it. And you're gonna
right,
write,
but what if those sections aren't 150 square feet?
um.
That's what I don't, that's what I'm.
Okay,
not
that's
wrap
fine.
my head around.
Right, and so we need to work on the wording in that more detailed explanation of TLU. It gives a formula. So maybe we just get rid of the partition altogether and just define TLUs as that way.
So is it only defined by 150 square feet?
It's,
It has to be 100, it says here, it has to be any 150 square.
yeah, maybe it should say or
Are you
less.
about taxation on a room this big getting, what do we?
Grammy, what the mayor's, the mayor and the town, I don't know what it is, town something, manager or something from California, what they told me was what, the way they get around the regulations for how many people they can have and who's actually staying there, they cram people in by only having 4 rooms, but having 12 sleeping places. Or like you see what I'm saying, that they rent out, and they just put like plants there, or
Mhm.
like a Chinese screen, or half a wall.
So is that a must-do?
No, they do it in like this big, in short-term rentals is where it happens.
So a partition is the name of the effort to get around
Yeah, it's a
being charged-
partitioned area.
charge for separate rooms.
It's, so partitioned area is kind of what it is.
So would it be like one bed for every 150 square feet or?
Well, they say it's this 150 square feet, and some Springdale uses 175, but it's sleeping space for two people. That's how it, like, in theory, that's kind of what it's supposed to designate. If you can sleep two people in there and you're renting it out, what do you call that?
It's a partition, even if they're all in one space.
Yeah, so,
Well, I'm wondering if instead of 150 square feet, we can say any area that sleeps two people.
we can do that.
Any area. Any.
That's what I mean.
So is this for multi-family, like if you had one vacation home
Mhm.
and you rented it out to one person, and they could have whatever the maximum occupancy is in there. What are we trying to accomplish? We don't want somebody who owns a vacation rental to range of different families and such.
They do it to cram extra people in, like, and not have to be there, like, if they have, oh, another example of this would be a loft. I should could have put loft on here, because that was an example we used a lot, is they say it's one bedroom,
Who says?
but the owner is saying,
What, house? Are you renting out a room in your house, or are we
Oh.
talking about?
okay, so let's say it's a tiny home. Okay,
Maybe
State-
two different families in one tiny home, is what you're trying to eliminate?
well, they do taxes by bedroom. Okay, they do taxes by bedroom, so it's and that's the state, we're trying to use the same unit of measure.
That's what I'm trying to find out.
Yeah, so this, is where they're making a bedroom, it doesn't have walls, so you can't call it a bedroom, but they're making a bedroom out, and they're renting.
I think it's either based on. So who decides that it's a bedroom and who decides that that's how we're taxing you? Is it just an occupancy tax? If you rent this house and you spend $300, there's a percentage of that goes to,
For a house, but,
or tiny home? Doesn't
Let's
matter.
say I have 1,200 feet of deck now at my house, okay? Let's say I decide I'm gonna rent that out to 6 different people. Well, that would be 200 square feet for that space that I'm renting them. Is that covered by this? That's,
but this
What I'm
doesn't
having
give
fun.
anybody, okay, this doesn't give anybody license to use it as a transient lodging, it just says, okay, let's say we have our 5-bedroom limit on we'll use short-term rentals, we have a 5-bedroom limit on houses that can rent.
For sure.
Okay, so they get their license as a short-term rental house. But they wanna,
Huge bedrooms.
huh?
And they have huge-
But they wanna, and they would be exceeding occupancy limits, right? Sure, that's true, but if they're renting out a space. Yeah, on their deck, let's say they rented out some of their deck, any amount of their deck, but at least 150 square feet of their deck. We have to have, other than occupancy, you can say, no, you've got an extra, you've really got 6 transient lodging units in that house.
Mhm.
You can't, that's not eligible for an STR permit. Does that make sense?
that makes sense, but I'm not sure we need
So-
to address this square footage.
And I'm fine with that. We just do sleeping areas, because the other one says bathroom. Yeah.
Well, you could say, you could rephrase it.
When builders.
I actually-
I'll say, hey, I'll just do. 155 square foot.
Well, that's kind of my,
Yeah.
I think.
Just trying to eliminate people exceeding the occupancy, like we've already said. If there's a 2-person per room, and it's.
Exceeding all of our regulations, because when we get to the permitting standards for everything, and so it will apply to taxing, permitting, we're regulating permitting mostly, so that's kind of the big deal, but and whether,
That's what I think too.
what,
Just eliminate 150, any square foot area with or without walls, which is not a room, but it's your rented,
Any area.
any area.
So I'm just trying to understand what we're trying to fix.
So here's, I think what I'm hearing, Ron, is why if Springdale uses 175, you're suggesting 150, I would say let's do what Springdale does, but here's why. Because if I have, one of the say there's a mega house, and it's got 1 bedroom vicinity, and they could lodge, 12 people. But under that definition, we would only charge them for a certain amount, right, sleeping area. What this would do is they would have to pay the taxes on 6 separate units, so you don't get that hacking. Am I correct in my understanding?
I don't,
Yeah, it makes it so we want layers of regulation. So we want houses with only a certain number of bedrooms or we want to know how many units of lodging they're putting in commercial development. If, you know, like the number of units matters for taxes, it matters for how much water they're using, it matters for how many people are actually staying in our town. So all we're trying to do is find some definition that catches people who are not people, but catches sleep, that makes, we wanna make sure every sleeping area that can be rented is defined as a treasure.
Bottom line is, if I rent a hotel room, I'm paying, if I spend $100 tonight and tomorrow night it's $200, it's still the same room, but my taxes are bigger on the second night because it's $200. And on a vacation rental, I'm not renting, they don't care how many people I have, as long as it doesn't exceed the max occupancy. If it's $1,000 a night to rent this house, we're getting
Okay,
our taxes on that $1,000 a night, no matter how
okay,
many bedrooms or how many.
And on houses,
but wait,
We can regulate them, so we've got a 5-bedroom limit and a 2-person room
you already have
limits, right, so we have that. What else are we trying to accomplish?
okay, so the best way to regulate is layers. Someone, I mean, we don't wanna spend a ton more time on this, so we can talk about it some more, but like that big house that they,
Right,
okay,
whatever the rate is, the rate's gonna be, whether just.
okay, but what about regulating it?
About what?
If she only has, if that house, she could not put walls in there and she could still have a million, and I'm not talking about her particularly, I'm just saying any big house could have, make sure it was only 5 rooms, right? And then in our permitting where it says, oh, you can only have 5 rooms or you're not eligible for a permit. She's like, yep, got 5 rooms, here you go, give me my permit, and then we're left to say, hey, there seems like an awful lot of people in there.
But our regulation also says 2 per.
Right, so we have max occupancy.
Okay, but guys, you gotta layer things because people get around it. It's so important to have the right number of rooms, right? Anyway,
I don't think we need to, I think if you say you get a 10 in a short-term rental, you have 10 people max that can stay there. Not stay there, can be in that house. So if there's a noise complaint there because they're having a wedding and there's 75 people there. But the limit is 10 and the cops show up and know that there's 75 people, then 65 people have to leave.
yes,
That's how you regulate it, it's not.
except for, but you all, yes, absolutely, but the other. If you wanna take it out, you can. I was just told that it's really important when I'm trying to do, transient lodging, that you have a unit that is consistent, that you measure everything by the rooms. And then if they don't put walls, you gotta have something else to call it a room with.
I just think we're muddying it up.
Okay, well,
Where occupancy takes care of all. If we're trying to eliminate people renting this, like. I don't understand how you would,
Well,
anybody
this
would
is just
want
a
to.
definition,
Yeah,
this is
this
just
is
a
the
definition, but,
this is just in case we use it.
but when you are reading the chapter in the ordinance, and it says, it refers to partition, you go, well, what's a partition? And you wanna go to that, oh, well, it's 150 square feet, so if I do 160, that's okay. Or if I do 120, that's okay. That's my issue with that.
Yeah, so,
Maybe I'm nuts, I don't know.
no, let's get rid of let's for sure get rid of the number, and let's circle partition, because maybe we don't need it.
I have.
Oh, but
I
let's hear what
have an
Ken says.
agreement with Larry, though,
Yeah.
and this is generalities, okay? We can have all the definitions and all of the ordinances that we want, and there are going to be people who are going to break them and try and get around them.
Sure.
And so we have to have them, but we can't solve it for every possibility. And we can't enforce probably what we have, at least that's certainly the point today, and I know we're trying to change that and get code enforcement. But even then, you know, who's to stop somebody from, you know, smoking in a non-smoking rental? Until somebody complains or somebody comes to check it out. I think that my feeling from where you're getting this and and they have a lot of experience and they've had problems that we are just beginning to have. They're trying to warn us that this is a problem, became a problem for us, and you're saying that some of the people that you're talking with say, well, look, you gotta be careful, because this is what's gonna happen, you're gonna get a Fort Lauderdale spring break, and everybody's gonna come to town, because, Virgin is the place to have it for all of Northern Utah's spring break this year. They've all talked about it, they've all emailed it, and they're all gonna show up here. Don't worry about the place, we'll get you in. And those kinds of things they're not even gonna look at this kind of stuff, they're just gonna think they can do it, you know, and get away with it. I think we keep things really, I wanna keep them basic. I wanna say that most of the people are compliant to basic principles and ideas of what we have as an ordinance. And there's gonna be people that the code enforcement is gonna have to take care of if they can. So,
I'm fine.
so the simpler it can be for me, and yet I know we have to put things in that I may not understand, but there's a good reason to have them. But I would really encourage us to try and simplify. So as we define partition,
Well, let's get rid of it. Honestly, why don't we get rid of it? Do you want to is everyone happy if we get rid of partition?
We also have to get rid of transit parking.
No, we can't do that.
I don't think we need to put.
I was
square
trying to
Yeah.
find where in the ordinance it refers to partition.
There's only two places in it toward the end in the permitting. But you don't have it yet, so don't worry.
Oh,
Get there.
okay.
Yeah, yeah, really. Yeah, and so we don't have, honestly, if we're trying to not get you, if you guys feel like this money that I put in there just to make sure, I don't care, let's get rid of it, get rid of
I
partition.
think the key to this whole thing is that we have building permits that our building inspector or the city or the county or whoever is going over those plans before a shovel's ever put in the ground and says, wait a minute, what's this room for?
Yeah.
You know, why is this so big? Church in there or something?
Yeah.
Or do you understand that? And then it comes after it's built, it comes down to. So I was talking to Tom, Dancy about Dark Sky, and Tom's the development director in Springdale. And, he said, and I can relate Dark Sky to what we're talking about, what I'm trying to talk about right now, and that is, you set up as good an ordinance as you can, but you want to keep it really easily understood and readable, okay? And then, he said, what we've done with Dark Sky is that we have engaged the people and citizens of town, of the community, to believe in Dark Sky and to believe in, talking to your neighbor or calling the city if there's an issue, to try and continue to keep Dark Sky, ordinances, lived up to or followed. So they wanted to engage that. I think we have to make sure that we're doing what you're doing, but not making it redundant, overdone. And then we have to trust and hire really good people to make sure that these things are followed.
And this is just a definition, so.
Right, so my thought on the whole thing is
Yes,
that
thank you.
we've got things in place to limit the amount of occupancy. And it's only as good as it is enforceable, so if a neighbor complains because there's a lot of noise coming from these vacation rentals and the code enforcement officer or a sheriff shows up and the place is packed, then that's a violation of their permit and they risk losing their permit, so and there's steep fines associated with these issues, so I just don't see anybody pushing that limit, especially in the ones that are in residential neighborhoods, and the neighbors would be complaining immediately if there's cars parked all over the street, and there's 75 people in a vacation rental, it's only supposed to sleep 8. And I think it'll regulate itself, and they stand a chance of that never being a vacation rental again if they are repeat violators, and that's one of the things that we've passed. And so I don't think defining square footage for a room or bedroom. I mean, there's still a max of 10, And then vacation.
So $2,000 and get it out.
What's that?
That's
I don't
$2,000.
mind leaving it in, but I think that 150 square foot should.
So since transit lodging unit covers it, let's just get rid of purchase.
Okay.
Can we do that?
Yeah.
Okay.
I
we'll
think
get
we
rid of it.
spent
Let's get rid of
enough
it.
time on it.
Yeah, okay. And no, thank you for that, because what we don't wanna do is exactly what you're saying, we don't wanna get into the weeds so bad that we can't get out. Okay, so, all right, I know it's almost time, we gotta plow through these definitions, you guys, okay. Residential host, so that changes, we get rid of residential hosting facility and change it to residential host.
You're taking away facility.
Yeah, we're just changing it to the.
So
because
basically,
facility-
That makes sense.
That's an Airbnb as opposed to a VRBO.
It's a real.
So it's a house, but yeah, you read that, and we're hoping, these are important to pay attention to, because we're hoping to tread. If you do residential hosting, right, it can be useful in the future with housing.
Isn't residential hosting, is owner occupied? and
Yes,
they're
that's the
renting
difference.
part?
Yeah, a room.
rental.
Yeah.
Although that's been now taken out of residential areas.
Yes, it is right now, but we still need it, because we want.
I agree. No rumors.
Yeah, it's out right now, but we need it still,
Okay.
and we need that, and as long
That
as
answers that
And
question.
I know that needs to be limited, right? The number of permits or licenses we grant. I know that
it's not.
Perkin is maxed. There was a waiting list, they eliminated the waiting list. They're trying to reduce the number of
Yes.
those.
Yes. Yep. Okay, bed and breakfast. This is a different thing. But I think it's important.
Just one point on the short-term
Yes,
rental,
yes.
in here it says June 23rd, 2023, here it says, I think it's January 24th, 2023, so just make sure we got the right date.
Okay, so that was when I thought we were gonna get something through that January, you can. Whose date
This
is
is the
that?
short-term, the overlay zone was permanently closed.
That was on June 23rd,
It
23.
was on June
Yeah,
23rd.
that was, I don't know. Oh, you know what it is? Okay, this is, we can talk about this later, but I wanna add the word permanently. And it would, so we can talk about that later.
But we gotta have the right date.
Well, yeah, it would have been on the first, if we would have gotten it through, nothing planned. But yes. Enough of that. Okay, bed and breakfast, you guys okay with that? The difference here being, it really defines the nature of it, so it can't be used for anything other than what row bed and breakfasts are supposed to be. And architecturally significant, that means not anything, you can't, it won't be able to be used, people can't just pick a house and make a bed and breakfast. Because we don't want tons of them, we don't want people just building houses, it has to be just, we don't want people building small hotels and calling them bed and breakfast. So that's why you make it architecturally significant.
Now, we need to have two more definitions, so what
They're
is,
in,
what's historic and what's architecturally significant, those are in there?
in the definition of that, it says the town decides.
No,
It's the definition just above it, correct?
Yeah, it's below, the architecturally significant home, it comes down, it's in the definitions lower, I'm sorry, it's not an alphabet word. But that just means you can't make a little, if you have a historic house, you wanna get it permitted or if you want, anyway, just make bed and breakfast a certain type of thing.
Right, and what it does is eliminate someone from coming in and building.
Exactly, build, yes, a little, yes, that's correct. All right, short-term rental, now this, oh, we might skip this because it's gonna be, so this is what our definition of it was, it's an entire residential home, this is what they changed it from. Which I don't understand.
Short-term rental.
So this would be overriding what they did last night, and it's too bad,
what was their
but
definition?
I was gonna text the mayor to find out exactly what it was, but, so we might have to save that till, let me see.
Because it's silly for us to do anything if they're gonna.
Well, that's why we gotta,
Well, the only place it would be allowed is only allowed in university.
yeah, yes.
You just need to add that.
Well, this ordinance will switch it all around. So let's skip this one for now, because we'll get lost in the weeds on this. Let's skip it, just circle it or whatever.
And that one may be replaced by that dispersed.
No, this is for what's in the STR zone. So this is for whole houses. STR is a whole house that you rent, a residential house that gets used commercially.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we need it, but we won't get in the weeds with that, because we need to get the mayor.
If I have a house
Is it,
and
well,
outside there is somebody might call it a guest
I
cottage.
can see that, yeah.
Or,
Yeah,
It's a casita.
Pool house, I don't know.
yeah, pool house.
And what's stopping me from turning that into a short-term rental?
That would be residential.
It'll be,
hosting.
you'd have to get a residential hosting permit to do it.
You have to do it up on the highway.
Mm-mm.
You can do it in town. I can do it at my house.
Because
Eventually.
that's different.
I could short-term rental my house.
Your house, if you,
That's residential.
if you do your house, if you do your whole house, it would be a short-term rental. If you do your casita only, it would be a,
It's residential.
residential host, it'd be a residential host.
But there's some areas that this isn't even allowed.
Okay, but we're just defining right now what it
Just
is.
define.
Yeah, so we're not regulating it right now, we're just defining what it is.
Got it.
So we can walk through, yeah. Okay, so, sh- can everyone, back to short-term rentals briefly, just to make sure, does that definition make sense to everyone
Mhm.
based on the other definitions?
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you think?
Simple.
that was that.
Even I can-
Yeah, the short-term rental, those are the entire houses, like in this, in the.
So then, what are the things that, is going where the red coyote is?
What, is it a dispersed motel?
Because they've been described as short.
Everything in town is a short-term rental, that's why we have to do this, that's the entire reason we have to do this, so we can regulate things separately. So yeah, they're calling it short-term rental, but that's a dispersed motel,
Yeah.
yeah. Right? Okay, short-term rental overlay zone, so this definition is important,
Which we did the, that's the right thing,
yeah, that's the date.
so we need to fix that really.
Yeah. So this gets kind of technical, so we could just read through it. Land use unapproved is an overlay on a limited basis for some new residential subdivisions prior to June 23rd, 2023, wherein the purchaser of a lot listed on an approved final plat would be eligible for a short-term rental permit for the residence home they built thereon, notwithstanding the location of the home in a residential area with an underlying residential zone. So there's language in there on purpose, there might be too much of it. If we can, but,
If it's closed, who cares?
for permitting, and for being able to regulate with permit, we care. But it's not that critical. If
So
it's-
do you
if it's
mean the residential zone or residential zones?
This is a zone, this is that
The overlay.
particular zone that they put on,
Right.
it's five.
I know that, I know
Yeah.
that.
So-
But
And
it notwithstanding the location of that home in a residential area with an underlying residential.
that's
zone.
just affirming the fact that they will, see, the privilege
It's
they.
not a rural, it can't happen in a rural residential zone.
Yes.
Well, it is a residential,
That's why I asked,
Oh, so the extra
that's why I
are-
asked, is it residential zones or is
So,
it?
yeah, you can put.
Or you'd have to add
This-
rural residential.
Or, I mean, it said in the singular there, so you could put R, comma, RR in that was parentheses,
Okay,
yeah? Okay,
Or asset or zone.
exactly.
Put goal, for goal.
yeah, either one's fine, take your, pick a poison.
We're wearing her down.
If I seem pressure, it's only because I'm being pushed through it, I'm not pushing you.
And-
guys.
No.
And if we're just, I mean,
We're just.
we're not picking you apart,
Okay.
we're just covering this, and you know, some developer's gonna pick it apart. and look
Oh,
at it,
please,
so-
pick. No, I want you to pick, that's why we're doing it, pick, that's a
Yeah,
job.
we're going through much more quickly than to go through.
Yes, no, I love it, pick it apart, and the only point of putting in the underlying stuff is just because the difference that they have with that zone is they are in a residential area, but they still get to use that commercial use of short-term rental, that's right too.
But they have to respect the underlying zone.
Well, there are places where it applies, so yes, that's right.
Which, you know, my neighborhood had rural residential surrounding it, now I've got commercial use surrounding it instead, so.
That's right, and what can be built around it can be based on the underlying zone, anything, so we gotta make sure that's all good. Okay, all right, so we got the basic definitions down. If we survive that, we are so in good shape. Now we just gotta get the types of logic, ready? I mean, this is a definition too, you don't make a mistake, but, okay, so type 1, that's hotels. And you guys gotta tell me when you wanna cut this meeting off, okay?
Cut out
Do
luxury.
we need luxury?
Yeah, get rid of all luxury, get rid of the useless stupid words, please.
Type 2 seems incomplete.
Yeah, it sure is, wow, do you have a different definition there? Oh, okay, let's go down to this, let's go check again, oh geez. Close your eyes, kids. Chapter 60. I should have done this before, I was working it, where's my? Right here, okay, chapter 60, let's look at what the real definition is, because it's written other places. If I can.
You basically use the definition of transient lodging for type 1.
Yeah, there's a whole chapter on it, hold on, where are we? Transient, okay, here we go. Oh, that's kind of not a good one either. Hold on, that's one definition, I mean, it's the same definition broken up a different way, let me go back. How about right? Here, motel. Oh, no, let's check this, here you go, here you go. Type 2, how are these? Let me make this bigger. How do I make it bigger? Do I push a plus? Is there a plus I can do?
Control plus or
Control plus?
or
Command plus, yes, thank you. Okay, so there we go. Licensed motel, with internal lodging units which may be accessed internally or directly in a parking lot, which are limited nightly for periods of, now this doesn't have the, oh, it does. With limited on-site amenities, that's your that's your type 2.
that should go there.
Yeah, that just needs to be cut and pasted to there.
And then transient lodging 3,
How does you feel about?
that's what we used.
That's the dispersed motel,
Yeah.
so we'll need
And
to
this
change
is
that.
where, do we want short-term rental there? This ban.
Oh, don't write the word short-term rental in there, because it doesn't become a short-term rental.
It says right there,
Where, talk to me.
type 4.
Yes, and yes, we do, because that, yes, we do. So. Are we done with 3? Is everybody good with 3? Okay, so let's 4 now, this is the important one. Transient lodging 4 is we're making it a new category, so it can be regulated separately. Okay, and this is for everything that's in that could potentially happen in a residential dwelling, in a residential area, right? So these are residential dwellings that are able to get a permit to be rented out as a vacation rental.
They can't.
That doesn't mean we don't need the definition. Remember, we're just getting the definition in our code because they can. We have short-term rentals in town and we have people that are renting their houses out and we've got to be able to regulate it. So if we don't define it, we can't regulate it. Does that make sense?
Another example is over in Sierra Bella. When we built up at the top of Sierra Bella, we're not in Sierra Bella, but we're in a little different development, but we're next to everything, it's surrounded. Down at the bottom is the house that was built as a home show when it was developed, and then it fell apart and it failed, and they made a deal with the town to allow them, the owners, to rent, to use it as a short-term rental. Okay,
What is
and,
existing short-term rentals?
and so in
No, we don't regulate it.
there were some people that wanted to come in and start building short-term rentals in Sierra Bella. And the people who live behind this that are in Sierra Bella ended up threatening lawsuit to the town if they allowed that, because they had bought those lots and built those homes under the existing development area of Sierra Bella. And so that town that's an exception that the town has made, but it kind of falls into this category of
So somebody wouldn't look at that. and say,
permitted, it is a
So
permit.
this is a definition only. That means this is the building block we use to say yes or no with. This is just a definition. This does no regulating power. Defining it only makes it regulatable. If you don't define it, then they can do whatever they want. Okay, so that's why it's important to have those. And Darlene, there's 4 sections of this code to regulate this one type of lodging because it's our problem spot. This is our problem. This is our STRs, basically. That's what, yeah, okay, so here's our little chart.
I don't like tables in ordinances.
I know,
I
we
think
can
it's
know.
redundant and it's,
We can take them all out. I
Well, I don't
swear I
think-
put them in there. I swear I put them in there for clarity. If you guys don't like them.
And for me, as a user on the other end, I love tables.
I love them
because
too.
it's Quick references.
I love them too.
I can see having all the tables in a binder in the town hall. So somebody can go in and if they don't wanna read through the whole ordinance,
Yeah.
they can just look at the table, but I don't think it needs to be in the ordinance. But, you
And for
know,
me, if I'm online trying to find it, like, I'm looking at a lot. And
I like
I find out, okay, zone this, what exactly can I do in this zone? Oh, this chart tells me I can do
but
these things, and then I'll dig deeper, and start reading the ordinance, but I don't want to have to read through the whole ordinance if I can just look at the chart.
Okay.
I mean, that's,
But
as a
then-
user, that's important.
and I hear that, but that is a relatively easy thing to address by under like 32 for residential, having permitted, conditional use and prohibited.
Yeah, the other thing is this,
That's right there.
the must,
Basically,
I think girls, the must,
Right.
Them still have it.
yeah, so the must is, the code has, no table should ever say anything that is not already spelled out
And that's
specifically.
the problem.
Yeah,
Because, you know, I mean, that's the problem we have, is if you've got a table without code that, and matches it exactly, tables should be based on the code, not the other way around. And that means, if we do use tables, that has to be our rule.
agreed.
So, and if we don't, that's fine.
Who in our town is the person that I go to as a developer to get a permit?
Kim?
Who hands out the permits?
Kim,
Kim.
after being authorized by, or depends on the permit, she does the permit, so. She does CUP, so she does anything that's conditional use. And business license, and then Crystal does everything else. Oh, wait, no, I lied, let me restate that. Crystal does business licenses too. Kim just does permits. For building, for builders.
And so who trains that person
I have no idea.
to be able to make sure, how does the permit,
I believe the zoning administrator is involved in that process.
Yeah, for sure.
That's his job.
Yeah, so if we put code in, then they have to figure it out and do it. Why are you worried about, I'm curious why you're worried about permitting, just thinking about it?
well, yeah, I just wonder how that's administered.
Well-
How that is.
Our ordinances should.
How that,
spell
how that employee needs to be trained. There has to be a way to train an employee
It's true.
to know what kind of, development or request.
And not in land use.
Oh, so yeah, there's a bunch of steps,
Yeah.
that she doesn't just hand them out, they have to go through a bunch of, she only writes the paper. It goes through Jean, it goes through the the committee.
Oh, yeah,
The development committee, and then us,
right.
we look at it, and then we just tell her yes or no, right? Yeah. We don't want somebody that has all that power, do we? She's a clerk, and she's awesome. Okay, so so the types of lodging, where are we on the definitions, Darlene? I'm just.
We're done.
Woo!
So 3206 permitted uses, and then you go to 3207 allowable by license or permit.
Okay, so that's the next thing to,
And then 3209 prohibited. And I would suggest, in lieu of the imminent demise of chapter 30,
well, I don't,
just putting all the, because you only have a few of the permitted uses here.
you know, the problem with that, I mean, this is the problem with that, we can't eliminate 30 until, because that's the uses, right?
I know,
Okay,
but if
so-
you list them,
I know, but you gotta list, there's more to, okay, I hear what you're saying, and that might be the way to do that, but look at, I gotta pull it up. Chapter 30, okay. So this is the next thing we need to cover, because this is the next building block, we need to go over uses. Because this is the next building block for everything we're doing, then we can go home if you guys are sick of it, but we will have to make some decisions first. Just a couple. Chapter 30, that's right. I promised to leave my stuff in piles before the meeting. Oh, yeah, I better not have that. Does anyone else have, oh, right here. Okay, this might not be the very latest, but it'll give us the.
Well, I have,
Can we do it off that, should we just do it off the ordinance you have out? Yeah, let's do that. Oh, I can do it off 16, okay. So what we're looking at right now is, one of the other things we have to amend, and one of the biggest reasons to do it, you guys, is, I don't wanna say this on. To regulate the housing the way we need, the lodging the way we need to, we had, our uses were strange, we had. Here we have the old one. Yeah, this one too, okay. So
they missed
the old one, so the old chapter had permitted use. It had use with conditions. And then it had prohibited use, and tell me when you wanna cut this off, cause we can. And then it had, yeah, conditional
That's it,
use,
those three.
no, it had 4. And that was the problem. Yeah, it does,
prohibited, permitted,
I'll-
conditional.
On the chart, there's one.
yeah, the chart's not right.
Most of them aren't.
Yeah, that one's not right. The new chart, the new one I did is right, but not the old one.
Well, they left off residential zones.
Right.
Is that the old one? Oh, yeah, there's so much left after that. Okay, so this is what we need to look at. So we used to have, it was use with conditions and conditional use, with both of those were in there. If you look on the ordinance we just passed, it did, anyway, that's what it said before, okay? And remember the ordinance where Paul said, you know, all the uses flow from this chart, blah, blah, blah.
Oh.
Those were the uses on that chart, okay? Those, number one, are just indistinguishable. But what you really need is this, use allowable with a license or permit. That is critical. Every town has, we need to have that, okay? So we have our CUPs, which are conditional use permits for developers, and we come in for commercial. But we need to have things that are permittable, like a bed and breakfast, or like a residential hosting, or like a short-term rental that it's allowable with a permit. So it's not just permitted,
Right.
it's allowable with conditions that are set, that's what, they're already set, they're negotiated.
We had this exact
Yeah.
conversation in our sign ordinance, do you
Yeah,
remember?
yeah, yeah.
We had that discussion.
Yeah, so that's why you need it, because you need some things that are have set conditions. And then you get a permit to get them, okay? So super important. This is as critical as anything. This alone, this and the definitions and the types of lodging are critical structure for being able to.
Well, I'm not saying until you get rid of chapter 30, you probably need something like this. I just found a couple of.
Yeah, and I will send you my updated one before you spend any more time, when you send you my updated one to make sure.
But I also highly advocate that we put every single one of these in the ordinance
100.
in alphabetical order, because that would make
Yes.
you with your hat on,
Right.
right?
What's that?
Yeah.
Is that one not in alphabetical order?
Nothing's.
Oh, this one, yeah, okay, I have one, it's in alphabetical.
The chart is, but not in the ordinance.
Oh, yes.
Not in the one that goes through the permitted uses, the conditional uses, allowable, permitted, and I guess we would have to add conditional uses to this
Okay.
as well. And it's just basically putting this
Okay.
list in here.
For putting that on, for putting this ordinance, the one you have in your hand on public hearing, how close are you?
This one or this one?
And this one. Oh, there's one more thing we absolutely have to talk about, you guys, and we might have to, I don't know how we're gonna do this, but the other thing we've got to get rid of is chapter 42. It needs to disappear. It's an
Resort.
extra resort zone that's just hanging there, and whether we
Right,
aren't using it or not, you can use it, so it needs to be gone. So that's gotta go immediately.
Isn't that easy?
Yeah, that's easy.
You just say we're closing this?
Oh, no, you just take it out of, it's not even listed anywhere, so we can just delete it.
Does that take a hearing?
No, I mean, yeah, it's going to public hearing.
What
No,
is
no, I'm trying, darling, I'm
It's,
sorry. I'm talking about putting it on public hearing. I'm just talking about putting it on, because tonight I've got to write up whatever's going on public hearing. So I have it. It's in an ordinance there, so. Okay, so are you ready to cut it, or what are you doing?
So who's doing the edits on the, okay.
We'll do it. We'll talk tonight.
I have,
Yeah.
and I have.
Yes, please. Oh, no, we need to, yeah, so Ken has some really exciting stuff about dark sky, and he's got some transportation stuff. And
The mayor a little bit, trying to line up, getting the dark sky ordinance on the table and in our agendas. She felt that we're just so pushed and so full that she wants it to be something we do hopefully in May.
okay, I agree with that.
I also heard from Tom
Yes.
Danity, today, and he had spoken with, I think it's Alan Eastman, who's now the chair of the governor's new Dark Sky Utah committee. And, Tom Danity said that he had spoken with, Alan Eastman. And, there, he says, we're kind of like dancing around on our tiptoes when we're hearing about this, about Springdale. And he said, and Alan Easton said he'd like to at any time, maybe we can do this in April,
Mhm.
but come down and talk with us, kind of like the, person did the other night, what was that for?
Jonathan.
Yeah, and, he would be glad to come down from Salt Lake and, talk about his, what he can do and how he can support us and how he wants to help any way he can. Tom Dancy's a little bit reluctant to play that part because of his location, and he doesn't want Spurgeon to feel like Springdale's telling him what to do.
Correct, smart.
So, so that's kind of where we are with the mayor and where she wants to line this up, and that's kind of where I'm at.
Okay, thank you. Do we have, hang on just one second, is it, or a matter of time? Do we have 30 minutes? If we can go for 30 more minutes, do we have 30 minutes? You could go. I'll shut down anything for you if you want. There's no way, because we've got to hear from, we've been waiting until, the first real work meeting we've had, so we're stressing him. But we got to hear from him, and we've got one more ordinance we're gonna talk about.
Well, the
But
sign
you need to go
ordinance-
home.
I mean, I can hand it out and you can look
Yes,
at it.
okay, so
What I'm more
okay.
concerned about is the lodging, the structure size, the residential house size.
Well, that's not gonna get done this time.
It's gotta be done by June.
That's right. We'll put it on.
And so tomorrow's, and we have to be working on it.
Okay, well, so here's why we gotta wait on that, darling. We have to get through this, through these, all this stuff with the lodging for context. So that we know what the right thing to do is with this house size thing because of what it's aimed at. That makes any sense. If it doesn't, we can talk about it more later.
Because it has to do with residential and rural residential.
Right. So we do need to talk about it, but we can't do everything. We're trying
time to get that on to May,
May, yeah, that's what I'm shooting for.
But it's gotta be done before.
Yeah, but yes, but what we have to do tonight, we have to talk about this, we have to talk about the transportation plan. That's the other thing we absolutely must do. So,
Real quick, before I go, what ordinances are you guys giving me for public hearing ordinance?
you will know in the morning, by the time we're done, they'll be on the desk in the morning. And you will know. Is that one? Because that's tomorrow's our deadline. We'll make sure I'm staying up tonight to go to you.
Well, I just need them to me for Monday, so Monday, I need them in the evening.
I'll have them to you tomorrow.
You have the weekend, I just want them on Monday,
You got it.
so that I can get them like printing and all that stuff on Monday.
We're gonna try to do it right on.
All till Monday, as
Okay.
long as I get them on Monday, I'm happy.
We wanna keep Crystal
You guys have Monday, I was looking at my calendar,
Yeah.
Monday, I'm good. I come in Monday and I'm there and I'm like, hold it.
Good.
Monday?
Yes, love you, wonderful.
I don't do tomorrow, Monday, good,
Okay, love you,
okay,
truly, okay.
Monday today.
Fine ordinance on? Okay.
Is Monday okay?
Good thing.
Monday okay?
Monday.
Yeah.
Make it loud, clear, Monday.
All right, so let's get, how are you in time wise? I know you gotta get home. Are you okay? You're okay? All right, so wait, so Val, we gotta go backwards, because we gotta get this transient line, because we skipped him. We can't skip him. It hurts my heart.
No, that's so hard because.
Yeah, we got
I
it.
have one thing to add.
That's critical.
On the transportation.
Yeah, you.
Need to really do their own work, and that is proposing.
We'll definitely put it on. We want to. I don't think we have.
Yeah. I don't know.
Let's get that.
I mean,
Future.
So let's do this, let's do the transportation.
Okay.
Gonna be some of the issues.
All right. Okay, are you ready? What are you doing? All right, so we have, here's what, wait, why is it stopping on that? Stop it. Shit. I'm trying.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal.
Thank you, Crystal.
Very much.
From you to walk up.
I will, I'll let you know I did it. I'll send you a thumbs up text like I obeyed, what I should, okay. Why won't this stay on 16? All right, Larry, hook us up.
All right. I'll
Okay,
be
so
quick.
here's the start of our ordinance for this part of it.
So I think there's a lot of misconceptions maybe, and I don't know, there's a lot of citizens concerned, even though this has been a year ago, with a lot of public input. But this is kind of like a general plan, not like an ordinance, where this is, if we can do anything we want, what will we do to fix the issues we have now, which are offset driveways and not enough lanes and no turn lanes and so with a lot of input from DOT and a lot of input from the stakeholders, which are anybody that had property, anybody, I guess, in the town of Bergen had a chance to give input. But if we adopt this, it doesn't mean that everything that's on this plan has to be done.
Right.
And it doesn't mean it's gonna have to be done immediately either, it's gonna be phased, and it even says that it is as implemented as circumstances allow. And the Department of Transport, I talked to the guy today for probably an hour and a half, but at the meeting, he mentioned that a lot of these things where they're eliminating driveways aren't ordinances. This is, we'd like to see these driveways gone, and here's some possible solutions to eliminate the conflicts. And they've got a little map on that, link. You can click on those links and see all the different, every single property, you can zoom in on it and see how they have alternatives. Some of them may not be possible at all physically because of geography or, a lot of this is gonna take cooperation between neighbors and there may not physically be space for a lot of this, but they understand that, but here's what they say are some guidelines or some suggestions on how to alleviate, we got, by my intersection, there's probably 5 or 6 driveways that could be one, and it could align with don't wash, but it would take a lot of cooperation, and DOT said it may take some facilitation by the town of Virgin. You might have to go in there and say, okay, listen, everybody gets together and here's what we'd like to do. We can chip in the engineering if you guys would agree to give us the real estate to put these access roads in. But it doesn't say you have to, and it doesn't say that you're not gonna get compensated for taking some of your land. If they are, that is the way it's gonna happen. And it doesn't say that the existing driveways are gonna be eliminated. It is. Ideally, we'd like to, but it doesn't mean we have to. And the same goes with the road. And I think I heard somebody say we should just adopt the part of the State Route 9, but
That's what we need to adopt that
They're
part.
doing it in 2 parts.
I don't know why. We can do the whole thing because none of it says we have to do anything that's on here. By adopting the whole thing, then if a developer comes in and says, I want to do a 300 house subdivision over here, now we have road requirements that they'll have to adhere to. And if we just adopt Highway 9, then we go back to our old standards and we don't get sidewalks, which our general plan says we want sidewalks, so the plan, or the transportation plan says we need sidewalks. So if we don't adopt the whole thing, then.
I thought it was a funding issue.
Yeah, so,
So there is no funding, there's no, I mean, if we pass it, we can get funding, but if
Yeah.
if we pass it, it doesn't mean that we gotta pay to buy it, like, this
No.
absolutely does not mean that, it does not, absolutely does not mean that.
Applying for grants, I thought.
Yes, so if we, but that doesn't matter, I mean, if we just pass the 9, then if we wanted a grant for, doing something with Pocket Bill because it's an accessory road, we couldn't get it because we didn't adopt it in this, this
Well,
plan.
we didn't adopt the second phase of
yeah.
transportation fund.
Why wouldn't we adopt it all?
I can answer that.
Yeah, you can answer that.
So the town council and the mayor have asked, because of, public, they feel that there are issues that need to go before the public individually, several of them, they have a whole list that they went over. So they have asked us to please only adopt the first part now, and we, there's no sense in sending it to them, since they're the ones that, we send it to them and they want us to send us 2 parts because they're not going to put the second part through right now, they refuse, they're not going to do it, and so in order to get the funding.
I think it's wrong, I think the reasoning is wrong, because it's not a ordinance, it is a wish list.
I totally see what you're saying on that. But I don't wanna do that, I don't wanna just have to take it back.
And if you take into consideration some of the letters we received, those residents did replying for Route 9, but they weren't yet settled on the rest.
And you can always vote no.
Anything.
But, I mean, I can vote no, I mean, the citizens can say no on eliminating the driveway. That doesn't change by its adopted, so I don't know why there's.
No, I see what you're saying, and I don't know all their reasons for why they said what they said, but I just know that's what they told me.
And I've got no dog in this fight, I don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just saying logic.
I don't, yeah,
Logic.
what I'm trying to explain is that it's not a
It's not binding.
finite, yes, not a binding document, it is like the general plan, it's a wish list. Here's what we'd like to see. And I think for the most part, it's what everybody wants to see, except for a handful of people who are worried about their driveway getting realigned. So if that's the only concern you have, then.
Some of the ancillary roads,
What's that?
some of the ancillary roads.
And like they put Pocket Bill as higher use, but it's not higher use because they plan on it being higher use, it's higher use because there's gonna be more people in town, there's gonna be more people going to the park.
And there was also discussion of stopping Pocket Bill.
And that could be,
Yeah,
that still could be done even if we adopt this.
and it could still be done even if we don't.
Right, and there needs to be some alternatives to State Route 9, and they're trying to connect the town, with their suggestions. So there's a couple of, roads that aren't, it would be probably considered one of the smaller roads. But if there's a crash on the 9 and we can't get out, you have some alternatives to go around it. And it doesn't have to be those exact locations, this is locations that the department, or the engineer for the Department of Transportation said would be good locations and would line up with other roads. And would be probably the most cost-effective ways of getting those roads connected, so.
I just
And
think
there's
that sorry.
There's parts of it that are happening whether we vote on it or not, so that first part in red, just outside of town is gonna be passing lanes. So
Correct.
whether we do anything or not, that's happening. I just heard last night that Chiefs Bridge is getting paid next year, so that's happening.
So that was why, but because of citizen input, they moved that passing. Because once they heard us and our feedback, they realized their original position wasn't good. So they moved it further west.
And all that can still happen on everything that.
Well, I think that aside from SR 9, everything else is kind of still up in the air.
I think even SR9 is up in here, other than, well, I shouldn't say up in the air. They do have a very definite plan for it, but that changes based on use also. So if a developer comes in and has a 300 space RV park to put in, they may be required to do more than what we already have here. There might be decel and XL lanes, and right now that's not necessarily in there. It's got a left turn lane. Like today, if we were to build it and there was no use, it would just be 3 lanes. It'd be a left turn lane, east and west. And then, if you developed a piece of property, you may have to widen it even more and put in an XL and decel. Right now, I guess the easement, the 88 feet or whatever it is, goes all the way through town now, would be an issue. But it's, again, like White Buffalo had to do a little bit wider because they have much higher use, and that's up to the Department of Transportation to decide when those developments come in. One of the things that I was gonna point out was on the residential neighborhood streets. It's got sidewalks on 2 sides and a parkway. That may be more than we need, you know, we might be able to eliminate the parkway if that meant that it made a development more affordable. In other words, you could put in more, you know, that 6 foot by, or 12 feet basically throughout a whole neighborhood and take out several lots. Ultimately on a subdivision, so.
Is that mostly in the older part, you know?
What's that?
Is that mostly in the older section?
Well, we always section, now there's no curb and gutter. Very little
So that's
sidewalk.
where, that's where I started.
Ken had something, then I have a question for us.
So like number one is if there's new residential developments, that's what the streets. would look like.
Yeah,
Yeah. It wouldn't mean, and if the town got a bunch of grant money, you want to go back and clean up streets, you can do it like this, if the right of ways are big enough.
My point, and I'm pretty much with Larry in this, my point, with regards to that is that, everybody knows that we have an old road that needs to be redone, and they've provided all of this research and expertise as to, some options as to what that might work like. They've also told us, I mean, that's kind of their dream, but they also know that a lot of the back road ideas are private property. And those people have these fears, you know, of land taking and stuff like that. I've never experienced that really, in rural or, suburban areas. It typically increases values of people's lands when that happens, and they negotiate and work it out, adjusting for where the landowner may need it to be adjusted in order to come up with a deal that put that road through that pasture. And so I, from what I'm getting from UDOT on this and the people that have put it together, is this is, you asked for an idea, this is our idea, and you don't have to sign off and be legally or financially obligated to do any of it. It's just saying, this is what we've got, and there's some real critical things we want to do, and start really quickly. I think they say 1 to 10 years. Most of all this is short-term stuff they want to do. There's a few long-term things, but it's going to start pretty quick. And they realize they have to do that. They're going to have to fund their side of it, and get the money on their side, and provide opportunities for us to have grants, and we need that time quickly to apply for those grants for the coming year. So I believe we get to sign off on each section and each thing we want to do, and we have a lot of time to put our 2 cents within. I love island turn lanes, and if any of you have been into the park and seen the new turn lanes as you go from the entrance to the old museum and the park headquarters, their turn lanes islands they're not water. There's no landscaping, but large boulders and a little bit of old, some old timber. And there's probably a little bit of weed control, I guess, down as years go along, but there really isn't any maintenance on those things. They're they're lower than most of the turn islands you see, curves that you see that you might see on St. George Boulevard, or on SR9 in, Hurricane. So I think there's all kinds of those options that we can move forward, I hope, with saying, yeah, you have our support, here's our vote, and we'd like to see this move forward.
And the Department of Transportation, their jurisdiction, I should say, or let's say, is denied. The rest of the things that they've added to the study were kind of like courtesy. Here, while we're working on this, here's some other things you should think about. And even they said at the meeting, this, we understand there's property owner disputes gonna happen here, there's gonna have to be a lot of cooperation and a lot of involvement with the city in negotiating these and accommodating these meetings that we talk about.
And it may never happen.
And it may never happen. Well, like, item 15 is the bridge that goes from 100 to our development, and it shows sidewalks going all around. But by the time we get to 15, there'll have been some commercial development there on the 100, that probably would have better pay for some of that. And the same thing with some of these driveways that are, where there's issues. There may be some commercial development that comes in there where they'll have to pay for the, but if you're living there, or if it's your house, or if it's a lot that it's vacant, it's gonna be no expense to you, no cost to you. But if a developer, or if you decide to develop that, there may be some costs, but there's gonna be costs whether we adopt this or not.
This is also, don't think that we're the only ones in the state, and that this is the only piece of road in this state that is looking for money to improvements. Everywhere in the state has the pressure of finding the money to put their dreams to work.
And I think because the Department of Transportation helped us with this, we have a really good chance to get these grants.
Yeah.
Like Laverton, they just finished Laverton's, and look at that huge road they've got developed, and then would they finish it in, it seemed like only a few years ago, and they've already started almost, or nearing completion on a pretty major thoroughfare up there.
Is that the section?
Yeah,
Talking total.
yes.
So along, can I ask you a question, along, I don't know what to do about splitting that, but I do wanna know what's your overall feeling about what's the general on SR9, what's the highlights and what?
So on SR9, I think they talked about landscape medians, I think they talked about the left turn lane, a two-directional left turn lane, all the way down through the center.
I haven't talked with them about it. And their answer basically was, well, that would be Martin's choice too.
Is that the landscaping?
Right.
It's
And,
about this.
and it also limits access, like if you have just and that helps with safety, I guess, but
Yeah.
just like if you drive through Hurricane, there's driveway after driveway after driveway for businesses, and they just have that one left turn lane, and sometimes you think, well, I'm gonna sit in my left turn lane and pull into Ace, and there's somebody that's trying to hold the car, where if you have a median with landscaping and just one left turn lane that pulls in there, it eliminates that, but it's not nearly as convenient.
The question before us is, we approve.
Well,
So I think we approve the transportation study and give the council a cover letter that says, by approving the entire study, it does not obligate anybody to do any of these driveway eliminations. It doesn't obligate anybody to put a road in front of their house or through their property. This is a wish list that could happen or may never happen. And if it does happen, it's only because the property owners have agreed to it. It's not, nothing's gonna get forced on anybody. Other than if you come in here with a new development, here's our new road standards that you're gonna have to abide by.
so I'm hearing you say the road standards is the thing that you're thinking, like that's the word of it, so that's something that we can put forth to the.
Right,
council, but
everywhere in that, transportation study, or several places in the transportation study, because of input from the community was, and from the state, pedestrian access is huge, critical, they want that. We don't have a sidewalk standard, like you can do a subdivision today and not put a sidewalk.
Yeah,
Well, that might be okay if it's a small subdivision and you're walking your dog, but eventually, when this fully builds out, people are gonna be walking in the street instead of on the sidewalk because
No,
we didn't plan for
got it.
it.
Okay, so they told me flat out, they'll send it back to us, but they're not gonna, they won't do the whole thing, they'll send it back. So I think your point is well,
Talking town council.
yeah, they weren't quite specific. So,
They also said they're not gonna do any changes to the 60, we spent a lot of time on it, so.
oh, when did they say that?
And so I think our cover, because when we send something to them, aren't we supposed to attach an explanation of our cover?
Yeah,
Here's-
well,
here's why.
I've sat in the meetings where the people were worried about transportation plans, so my hesitation is, even though I don't disagree with your logic, I do also know what the public result will be, whether it's logical or not. And that wouldn't be enough to make me hesitate doing it, because we don't need any more panic in the town, and that's what we want is
I
people to.
will officially field the phone calls today.
Oh, Larry, you have no idea what you're saying. One of these days you'll sit in one of those meetings and then you.
I've been there, I was at these meetings and the same people got up and complained about well, I shouldn't say complained, were concerned about the, elimination of their access, and the guy was very clear
Yeah,
that that wasn't gonna happen. And there's nothing on here that says, if we pass this, we're eliminating all these driveways, it says, and it's it's a wish list, mentions that just about, several different times on that document that, in a perfect world where funding didn't matter, here's what we want. It's not,
There is a history in this town, though, that there's some hesitancy, and I think the reason for the bifurcation is, to acknowledge those concerns of residents and to give space to maybe think about and come up with other options. I totally hear what you're saying.
I think it says it right in there. It's the final word.
But we've had experience here where if it gets written down, that's what it happens. That's what, frankly, the fear of.
Well, and the other reason to go through it bit by bit, and this is kind of a side note, is it would be a great way to do our general planning. It would be a great way to go through this piece by piece and know what we want in the general plan, because where they don't say, we're gonna have medians that are landscaped. If we want that in the general plan, we should put it in. We should put what we want on these roads. The things that are lacking in this.
Well, not we.
I meant we as a
Did
town,
we?
that's what I mean, so if we are taking this bit by bit, we'll end up with a great checklist.
Right, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about, is the process. It would give us a good checklist for our general
Now-
plan, so that's another reason I'm leaning.
It's my understanding too, that if Sheep Bridge gets paved, that it would logically make sense to put that roundabout in on Sheep Bridge Road.
Right, and so the other
So
thing the town.
they need this to do that.
Yeah, they need that to,
Right,
yes, that's right,
right.
that's why, that's the other part,
Right.
why we need to make a firm decision on that part now, because they have a chance to get the funding for that. And they did ask for whatever recommendation, I guess they're not inviting either, but they did ask for whatever points we come up with a recommendation,
Mhm.
as, with this too.
So we should definitely let them know Larry's thoughts.
Oh, that's what I'm saying, that's what I was just saying, Larry, I mean, I think the idea, especially where we're dealing with some things where there hasn't been good standards in the infrastructure in town, I think it's really important to put forth that idea that, hey, we gotta pay attention to this, we gotta pay attention to this for the road standards, and if, we're gonna poke along on the transportation plan, what do we need to do with the road standards? I mean, that's not a point, let
We
me
have
take
it,
this.
but we can't find. It got put in a box when they moved.
The-
They're trying to find them.
The road
They're there.
standards, yeah, I mean, that's not a small issue, and I think it's really
Yeah.
important that you're saying it that, I mean, that you feel strongly about it, and I don't want to stop that. You gotta guide us on it.
and so my recommendation would be to recommend full approval. And if we need to, at the council or town council hearing, explain that it's a non-binding agreement or document,
They know,
then why would they want us to not?
because they're not willing to, well, here's the idea, I don't know, other than what they told me, but they don't feel it's fair, they honestly, they said it's fair to the public, there's just too much drama about it. Whatever they're hearing is too much for them, that's what I'm hearing. And I can see it, but I don't know the rest of the reasons other than that they want. Yeah, they want to be able to have the public conversation about a lot of it, and they want us to be able to put this through. I know, they don't know what it is. I bet they want this SMI to go through quickly because of the grant for the roundabout.
Well, and there's some, I don't know, there's emergency.
There's a couple, yeah.
That near the 101 that we're being asked to contribute to, so grant.
Oh, that's right, you're right.
That's right.
So
That's right.
the reason they want this piece done right away is they want to be able to get the funding without having to go through the process they think is gonna be necessary for the town. That's what, is that right?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what I get. Larry, I
So,
hear you.
I get it, I mean, if,
No, I hear you. I hear
I don't
you.
wanna say anything they're not gonna vote on, but I think that it's foolish, literally foolish.
Will you write us?
I agree.
Will you gentlemen write us a letter we can send with it? We have to, I have to have it by December.
But what's the difference if we adopt this SR9 portion of it and then adopt other portions later?
Well, the SR9 portion is one that eliminates all those driveway accesses, if that's what people are worried about, so I don't know if it's the potential connector roads that they're worried about, then that wouldn't be it, but the accesses on the 9 where they're having people reroute around, they're going through neighbors' properties.
And the reason to do these connector things now is because you're gonna have developments come along and proposals. That if you have those things in there, in the plan, then you're going to require those developers to put that into their program in order to get a permit to do their development. And so if you don't have this plan.
But if it's not binding, why does it matter?
Well, it'll be binding on new development like that, the road standard would be binding on new development, and
So the developer's gonna have to put in the sidewalks and
We
further
have to
gutter.
go to take a chunk. How much of this plan would you have to adopt to get some basic structure in there without, making all the micro decisions that people are worried about?
I don't know how. I mean, you'd have to go through and dissect the whole thing and just put in. That we adapt the road standard for the 9, that would be. That would be it then, or do we adopt the road standard for the 9 except for the connector roads that people are worried about and the driveway accesses that people are worried about, that they shouldn't be worried about, but.
I haven't read this, ordinance, is there any way we could,
Did you send it?
So one of the resources, there's a link that clicks to. It's got road standard, but the mayor sent it to all of us, but if you click on,
She did not send this to my right.
thank you.
Did the town?
but it not only had this plan that we're looking at, but it had the reasoning between. Or why each one of these.
I saw that.
And you can click on.
I'm not sure
Oh,
I
yeah,
saw
no,
this.
I've seen.
Here, no, we
No,
didn't
this-
get.
Yes, this is her.
This is just, so I was just showing you
That's
that
what you have.
this is the ordinance we got
Yeah.
elected tonight.
Well, but I wanna see more of,
There's nothing, because we had to send it.
that's it?
Well, no, that's just,
Yeah.
I just took a picture of the front page, so it's,
Just to remind us it's on the agenda.
yeah, but on all it says is, I'll show you, I can show you the rest, it's just, yeah, it doesn't say anything.
Well, Darlene's gonna send it to me. I'm just thinking, is there anything in there?
I've not got.
Oh, you mean, see, I haven't, Darlene, you sent this to me too, because they're not sending anything to my correct email address.
And I was thinking this was gonna be so simple. I didn't realize there was.
I know, the forces that be, right?
And do you want it?
Yes, do you want it?
Yeah, I haven't received this.
Yeah.
This right here.
Well, I've got
No,
it.
she's talking about something from the mayor.
I got that.
You got that? I did not get that, so.
And I am all for, getting public input and wanting the public to be a part of it. And, they had an opportunity, but I have no problem explaining that.
Larry, I have, in the SR9 portion of this, I have some real big concerns. That I am not,
What are
number one is, 775, 700 east.
they? Let's write these down.
I think one
7:75.
of the most dangerous places in town, and they don't really talk about it, at this point in any of their major changes along the route.
Help us know.
So that's where, Kenny, Cornelius's,
Yeah,
organic
700 west.
farm.
Yeah, 21 is right across the street.
So you've got the big dip,
Yeah.
we're going,
Oh, yeah.
you've got the big dip, and a blind spot coming to Kenny's Street, which, you know,
Yeah.
comes out of Little Birds and Val's Place. And then 75 units west from that, you've got the restaurant that people are going in and out of, and you've got 45 mile per hour cars coming both ways, both of them blind coming at each other. And that's
There's
where,
no medium.
So what's your, do you
that's
have?
where Mrs.
what
That's
work?
where Mrs.
Yeah, I
Kelly
know.
was hit.
Exactly.
And so it's just a really bad blind spot turn lane, and it's not really, I think, couldn't find where it was focused as a critical spot. They
Okay,
were focusing on the roundabouts, they were focusing on 900 East, they were focusing on, I think,
so 775, 770,
775 and 700.
700, thank you.
East.
East, yeah.
Yeah, west.
So,
West.
so there's critical parts that still are up in the air and I don't think have been really focused on, at least in this preliminary report. But I still feel, I'm sometimes ignorantly trustful of people. But I still feel that as this negotiation goes on, and as this process takes place and moves forward to putting it on the calendar, funding it at the legislature and by wherever, grants, et cetera, the conversation increases rather than stops. About, well, this spot, about this driveway, about what happens, I don't want to lose my driveway, I've got short-term rentals there. But okay, but we're gonna put sidewalks there, we're gonna have buses stopping along the way. And we're looking down the road 10, 20 years, we're not looking at today. And sometimes our citizens have to get something from us that's big boy talk. And you just have to deal with, this is the future. And if you don't like it, then elect somebody else at the next election.
Technically, yes. Bronwyn, can you go to page 19?
19 of,
The master transportation master plan.
uh-huh,
There's 8, 10, and 2. Do any of those address what I'm talking about?
No, there is nothing that addresses that, I just looked at that, it had a realignment of the driveway to line up 700. But I don't think there's a practical way to move 700
okay.
to, unless it went out. There's that new road that goes out to the vacation rental. Like, you know, you'd have to go down 200 feet down there and then go through somebody's property to avoid.
I'm thinking that they're looking at turn lanes there in their expansion. That they'll be looking at, side turn lanes, how they deal with the middle turn lane. Probably just, striped. Maybe they're gonna be single lanes each direction, and then 3 lanes, 2 on the outside for turning, and 1 in the middle.
And there may be turning lanes that go in.
So Val, isn't this 700 west?
So it might be functional here with this far right picture showing us how we can do that.
700 west is here, 700 west. Correct. And then 775 is there. The balcony one is right there.
Okay, yes, please.
So what is 10?
I'm thinking we get into that.
That's the ordinance. Oh, ordinance, yeah. So that's the, so 2 and 10 are, a lot of it overlays each other, like
Yeah.
this doesn't have a left turn lane, this doesn't have left turn lane, this already has a left turn lane. So
That's a good point, Ken.
2 is over 10.
That'd be very good, because when you turn, you have to make sure it's clear, there's no like.
Is this that thing that you're talking about?
Yeah,
Okay.
because
That's why I did.
it's the traffic.
Okay.
Well, third lane there.
All right, so there,
It'll just even that would help.
so what would you say are the big trouble spots on SR9? I can't get into that, see how I can't get into that file? I don't even know why. So,
Why?
You know what, you just open it and don't open it in Microsoft.
okay,
Just open it from the email, it takes a while to download.
okay. Oh, I don't know if I'm built from this one, though. Let's see.
Likes me.
It likes you.
It's so hard to see on this little screen, and but at home, it's so much easier.
Oh, that's the link?
This,
Yeah. And then you
Yeah,
can just
no.
click on the master plan from the link.
I don't.
I'll try to open
It's
Firefox. That was,
This is the same thing. I can mark it up.
Well, there's a lot of great information in this, if you click on that link, and then you can click off of that, and it'll just, like, here's, you know, vision in the context, talks about a
That's all
not being required, and then solution, you know, proposed solutions, here's the plan, here's the public input.
Yeah. It's on there. And here, this is the study transportation plan story now. It's right here.
So all that helps with understanding.
Yeah, I would just go on.
so what do you think? Oh, look, we got something from Kevin. Look at that. Good. All right, well, we'll read that.
Are we at all gonna talk about it?
I don't know, do we have? I think, do you want it on the public hearing? Are we ready for that, or we want to do, people on the agenda?
Look at it,
No.
but it's gotta go on the trail stuff. Yes, it will address all of that certain in the council plan.
Well,
Because off premise and billboards are fine, but this is the first step.
and I have
And I just
that,
wanna know where there's mess ups. And what we did is we made the ordinance small. Good.
right? Smart, because.
And added in the
Oh, good girl.
attachments.
Nicely done.
And then one is the new chapter,
Oh,
because it's a whole new chapter.
nice. That's how it should
And
be.
the other is the revised, definitions. And which ones we're going to get rid of.
Okay. Okay, well, I'll do my homework on that tonight. Okay, so what do you think, guys, what do you think we should do? What should we do at this juncture with this?
I think we should go home.
We should go home.
I'm going to start playing with that structure size ordinance,
Okay,
just because I don't wanna be left flat footed and every time I see a council member.
so I really thought you guys that weren't gonna vote on anything in chapter 60, but not later.
I only heard about
Yeah,
chapter
I wanna hear 30, not 60, okay.
Yeah,
30.
it's 30. They just wanna get rid of the.
I know, but they gotta think it's written. We'll see it.
So like, but that we can plan for if we just add all the.
Yeah, that's
places
right.
in the list.
That's right, so we can talk about that, okay, so
But
are we
then
not
we
ready?
have the chapter to put outside the ordinance to help people.
So the question is,
Right?
do we
What's that?
wanna send them what they want, Larry, with the scolding, or do we want, or how do we wanna handle it?
I have,
Not a
Well,
scolding,
we-
joking about the
We
scolding.
gotta do it at the hearing next week, right?
No,
Well,
it's not.
Next month.
Yes, wait, so we can put it on for public hearing and vote on it at the next meeting, but I will have to finish an ordinance that says it's at least close, I have to finish that tonight, because that's how soon in advance.
Whereas.
No, she wants
Not
to-
binding agreement. Whereas this is a wish list.
Yeah.
Whereas this is
Okay, well,
and that whereas no property owner will be obligated to put a road through their house,
oh,
whereas.
if we could put all that, I would do it.
No,
I'm kidding.
I said it, no, I'm not kidding, because unfortunately, I love this, because I think we are all in agreement that we are in favor of the SR9 section,
Yeah,
for the most part.
well,
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
questions,
Question yours, yeah.
there's questions,
Yeah.
okay?
but based on the
This is
fact.
how these guys work, and these are our experts. These are the ones who were the best we have, you don't. And they're the ones we have to work with. And I think if they were here and they were listening to our concern about 700, 775, or anything else along SR9, they'd say, oh, we already got that, here's our plan for it. Yeah, I hear you. let's talk about how we're gonna solve that. They would be doing that with us right now. I really believe that. Whereas there's some fears about the other parts, the side parts, the sidelines, if you will, that people are concerned about because they think we're just rolling over dead to UDOT and the state. Well, we're not. But why can't we say, whereas this is what we will sign off at this time, knowing that we can continue to work with the UDOT on SR9. Whereas we understand that UDOT is not going to do anything off of SR9 other than sheet grids or,
That's not, you know,
Yeah,
that's county.
yeah, so I'm just saying that outside of SR9, we are saying, we're not agreeing at this point because that's still up in the air down the road. I think in what I got from the mayor, that's what UDOT said. They're not concerned, they're just recommending some issues. But we're gonna have more problems with people who have property on SR9 and that want to maintain their right of ways, either because they have short-term rentals or they want short-term rentals. And they want that access. There are short-term rentals along SR9, they may not be licensed, but they're there.
Oh, Dan Snyder's house.
And
I don't
so,
think it's minor.
I'm saying,
Right, and
I'm
that's
saying,
probably.
I'm motioning that we recommend the SR9 section with the caveats that, there are still things on the SR9 section that we want input with UDOT.
So, like, 700 would be a town thing, basically, because they based this whole study on information they have. And that information is what they received from the town. If there's a development that's gonna increase the amount of traffic on 700, then the town needs to be, the town should be requiring a transportation study that says, you know, if you do this, you're gonna impact that intersection. If you impact that intersection, here's what we need you to do to, you know, get.
So we're not, would you rather hold it?
No, I mean, that doesn't change anything about this.
Yeah.
It just means that
I'm just looking
we
at
can do a
now.
better job, let the Department of Transportation know what's happening in our town.
Yeah,
Number one, and number two, we should be requiring developers, if you have a lot subdivision that impacts where that subdivision intersects with our highway.
So if you look with that intersection in mind, their proposal for all of SR9 is that 3 lanes. Maybe that is how they say to address it, so you don't have to go.
whatever.
The driver might be very useful. Well, except that
Said if
you've got Valley
you have development,
coming
you have
down
a subdivision should have a transportation. impact.
using the turn lane.
And if you do that.
On one way,
transportation
and I'm
impact
coming this
study,
way,
that
using the turn lane.
We should write down that.
And then, we use the turn lane when we're passing here. So.
Yeah.
You know,
it should be all kinds of impacts. How is it gonna impact the police?
And
department?
Kathy's not the only one. who-
40 vacation.
Oh, I'm money on that.
Then you gotta think about it. This is
Sure,
different.
Because people aren't
For now,
really-
we can have that next month, next month,
Yeah,
next
talk
year.
about it.
But if,
Boom.
if we
Right.
could do something on this.
Never ran. That's probably the most dangerous
Think
spot.
about it, think about
I think.
something.
And,
like
you know, it doesn't change this at all, it just,
What you're talking about,
Well, that
those are,
speed limit should go down.
those things are important, which I feel like they really are, but it's 45, but you know.
I think it should be right
All
down.
I'm so.
And that's.
so that's.
When you talk about Canadian park, that we can do like 25 miles an hour. You know,
Can't even sell them on a transportation
Well,
plan
this is all wishy-washy.
that the state spent $1 million on.
So we're gonna recommend it to approve the state.
Okay, so wait, all we're doing.
Yeah, all we're doing tonight is discussing it.
All we're doing tonight, well,
Right.
we would like,
But she's gotta.
I gotta put it in an ordinance, so I gotta put that, I gotta at least make an ordinance that says we're going to do something, and then we'll talk about it at the meeting, and we'll put up a public hearing.
Larry, have you talked to the mayor about your concerns about doing this?
I just started working on this today and called the, for the Department of
He's just getting
Transportation.
rolling, and he's got a lot of ideas.
I wonder if maybe a phone call would be,
And I called her.
and then, because, again, we don't have to have this into Crystal until Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll call her.
I know, I know.
Thought I was gonna have a weekend.
Ken,
You will.
Willing to write some whereas's for Brian?
Yeah. Well, we can't do, yeah, so she didn't send us I thought you were telling me she sent us ordinance.
Yeah.
No.
Okay, all right, so we can do that. We're just gonna use the general whereas for this one, the ones that
Yeah.
come on every ordinance is there. But I don't wanna shove it down anybody's, Larry, in principle, what I don't want is anybody in this group to leave with like, feeling like they're getting strong armed. I think if we can't come to a place where we're at least sort of okay, we don't do it.
I don't want to shove it down anybody's throat either. I want people to understand that it's a organic working document
So what do you think the solution is overall, right now, at this step?
So again, my recommendation would be, I'll call the mayor tomorrow to tell her what I learned, and I'm sure she knows also, but.
But I'm thinking there might be reasons that we're not privy to,
Right.
you know?
And we have.
And I would appreciate
Which they
if you would
should.
just let us know what the end result of that
Right,
conversation.
if they would have sent it to us and said, we're not gonna vote on it unless this is all eliminated because there's issues.
Okay, so let's
we'll
wait,
look at it.
so let's just have you make that phone call, and you update us, what you think we should do next.
Yeah.
Does that sound
That
good?
would be great, that would be great, and just let us know so we don't go into the meeting blind.
Yeah, well, for sure, before we.
Okay.
Well, don't do it for email because I didn't.
Yeah, don't-
That's all I can send is two.
Oh, that's
You know, wait, yeah.
Oh, no, I both belong
Wait,
there.
stop, hold on. So,
Delete
as long
that
as we
email.
don't, wait, you guys, stop. We can send like if you guys sent an email,
Uh-huh.
just don't reply to it as a group.
Don't.
Okay, so if you're sending out information, that's fine.
Okay.
It's a conversation you can have. So
Okay.
you can always blind copy the
Yes,
rest of us.
yes.
And then we all know not to reply, but we'll just, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's.
Oh
how
my
that works.
gosh, those these little rules and.
Yeah.
It's so crazy, and that's not, they don't typically work gets done in small groups.
It's crazy. Thank you all so
We have to
much.
make a motion to close.
Yes, we
the
have to make a motion. I will. I'm gonna need it.
Text,
They're
Well,
not listening.
go
So
ahead.
I'll make a motion to
Yes.
close.
because how do you get the information?
Val made a motion that we're gonna close the meeting.
Ken has seconded,
10 seconds, all right,
Yeah.
all right.
so,
Meeting adjourned.
okay, that's a good thing.
And you're still.
Yeah.
I know, I agree.
I think they